We are live. Welcome to the Out There channel, live stream 207. I'll just cue the intro and check the audio as we go through, and I'll be with you in a minute. That's Robert in the background with his phone. Hopefully that's not a copyright sound, by the way, because we'll be in trouble on that one. Yeah, we could easily get trouble on that one. Hey,
actually, that was an alert to say we're going live.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah. I think we've got the music playing now anyway. It's always a comedy. The MIB will try and take us down anyway. Mr. Earl Grey and the witch. That's a funny case, that one. There's John. There's Robert and his dog, Mr. Mush. Alien Grey. We've only got one watching. It's terrible. I reckon the aliens are watching us. Down to the studio. I know the government's watching us for sure. I mean, Google admin, who can terminate your live stream anytime they want. Hello. Hello. Good to be back. Back with another live stream with Robert in the UK. And please like and share. Helps us out. Get rid of the echo. I always say that though. Okay, now I can not hear myself talk. Sort of helps. There we go. Robert seems lower in his chair tonight for some reason. He must have angled his laptop a wee bit different. Yeah, it doesn't matter. We can just see the top of your head. I mean, your head. Let's see. Probably could make that a wee bit smaller. Yeah, always does that though. Always screws up for some reason. I think it's a Windows 10 thing, because I never had trouble with Windows 8. We got one watching, according to the stats here. There was 3 before, so I don't know who the other 2 were. So what are we doing tonight, Robert? I'll just type up the welcome message and we'll get into it.
Okay. Yeah, it's a 1973 UFO flap or UFO wave, which was global, but particularly intensive in the United States, probably because they had a better reporting network. But it wasn't just UFO sightings, it was occupant sightings, abductions, and just about every aspect of the UFO subject you'd like to consider.
Mm-hmm.
And contains some very good cases as well.
And 3 UFOs and occupants, right? Yep, carry on.
Yeah. We're focusing more on one particular incident, the Coyne, which is also 1973, of course.
Yep.
UFO helicopter incident, which is probably one of the best documented cases of all time.
Yep, that's what the thumbnail is tonight. I've used that one. But yeah, we're going to talk about this one. First of all, the bus, is it, in the UFO picture?
Yeah, sure. I'll leave you a link to the chronology from NICAP of the UFO flap in 1973 again. So, of course, I don't need to read this out, Paul. If we just have a skim through this, and what you'll find
Yeah, I'll
is
get the
that
link
the
first.
sightings. Yeah, of course, yeah. I'm just talking, Paul. Yeah, what you'll find is that most of the sightings and various other things are piled in towards the end of the year. Although it did go throughout the year, it intensified in the last stages of the year, then completely went away. Very unusual.
Not the Pascagoula guys.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you want me to do?
Well, just skim through slowly. You can see you've got April there, and you still got a lot of sightings coming in.
January, February,
Yeah,
4,
so you see it's
5.
fairly quiet at this point.
I don't know. There's a sighting every day.
Well, yeah, sure, but we get that most days anyway. If you look at MUFON, there's always UFO sightings coming in, but there's nothing unusual about the early stages.
Yeah.
You see, we've jumped to March already. Look.
Well, that's a long description there.
Yeah.
What's that one? The orange ball? What did I notice? Purple or orange colour? I think Shelley will be happy with that one. She's into orange UFOs. April, May. That's a long one there.
Yeah.
So these are all in 1973 worldwide. Well, it's it.
Yeah, it's quite interesting actually because they shut down Project Blue Book in 1969, and after they'd shut it down, everything kind of went quiet for a few years, and then, well, behind closed doors, the Air Force were quietly celebrating, thinking, "Thank God, this whole thing has gone away." They'd shut down Blue Book thanks to the Condon Committee, Edward Condon, and his merry little men. And they thought this whole thing's gone away now, and then boom, along comes 1973 and all hell lets loose. You see, we've jumped to August already and things are bound to really hot up now, especially the last 5 weeks of the year.
Big descriptions, and quite a lot of them in America, there, in Canada.
Yeah.
Dark green objects.
But you see, you've got Athens there as well. So it's very much global. Considering the reporting.
Yes, Australia, South Australia.
There you go. Yeah, there's one in New Zealand as well.
What's this Australia one? Semi-trailer truck. Because if you've ever been to Australia, it's like you go on the desert roads there and there's nothing for miles, so it's like boring. It's wonder people don't fall asleep at the wheel driving across from one side of Australia to the other. It's a big place, Australia, big continent. But you probably get stretches of road in the desert like that in America, of course, especially. Roswell would be desert roads like that for hours on end driving, probably. Well, maybe not as bad as Australia, maybe, but still. So yeah, entered the egg. I think we've covered that story before. It seems to ring a bell.
I don't think this one, but we have had egg-shaped craft in the past, yeah.
It glowed, died down, leaving a white light visible.
I think what you're thinking of is when we covered that 1954 UFO, an occupant flap in France.
Yeah. Just up the font a wee bit there. Save me zooming in. Spain. Bright circular with two hoops. Two hoops.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means. Appeared to have feet on the bottom. Is that like two rings? Is what they're saying there? Is it two rings going around the bright object?
Yeah, and then you got is that Gravate, Brazil. So yeah. it's definitely a global thing. And then moving on, you got Belgium underneath there again. So
yeah. Skylab. What's that about Skylab? Crew. Alright.
Yeah, the Skylab sighting, yeah. That was a famous one. Although there's a fair debunk out for that one. No, we can't be sure.
Doesn't say anything about it though. Two bright glowing ellipses hovering over house. What's that got to do with Skylab Crew though? Why is that sort of in the middle there?
Okay.
Strange object in orbit. I think there must be a picture there. It's got removed with the ad blocker or something.
Yeah, just to add here, like this is the NICAP website. Believe it or not, it's not completely defunct. They stopped actually taking cases as in field investigation in 1980 officially, but they've still got a database where you can report to.
Yeah.
But all you actually do is keep that database and then pass all the cases on to MUFON.
So now into...
you may as well report them direct to MUFON, to be honest, because as I said, we don't have any in the field investigators anymore. NICAP was a powerhouse in the 50s and 60s, but by the mid-70s it had become, due to infighting and what a lot of people believe was CIA infiltration. By 1980 it was finished, financially bust. And
so here we got Florida, Hollywood. So that's not California. I didn't know they had a Hollywood that side of the country. Talked about again obtuse angle, oval shaped with slightly obtuse angle ends and glowing with red and orange colour. So that's another orange one for Shelley there. So you don't want to read out any of these for this particular case?
My point was that how it intensified between late September and the end of the year.
Reason from bed. Well, let's just read out one of them. We'll read out this one here, Netherlands.
Sure.
Because we've never been to the Netherlands before. Let's see how the reader works. So we got it upgraded, by the way. Oh, there we go. We're back into that funny select thing it does. Let's make sure the reader works after all the playing around we've done.
Oct. Date not determined. 1973. Uden, Netherlands. A woman arising from bed glanced out a window and clearly saw three little men outside of her house. They were tall and were dressed in white outfits like monks' habits, with tight belts around their waists. On their heads they wore cowls with 2 points that hung on their shoulders. They seemed to be looking for something on the ground by the walkway between her house and a nearby school and had instruments in their hands. They wore wide, blunt shoes. One of the little men looked towards the house and apparently saw the witness with my nose against the window, for he appeared startled and said something to the other two, unheard by the witness. All three turned at once and moved off quickly with very small, fast steps. Going to another window in the house to see if she could see more, the witness discovered a glowing red, spherical object of 2 or 2.5 meters in diameter at a distance from the house of 35 or 40 meters. She went to wake up her husband. When they looked for the object, it had disappeared. Ref. 5.
So, yeah. Strange description there of white outfits, like monks. It's before Star Wars too, 1973. Star Wars was 77, wasn't it? And that's the only time.
79.
And that's where the monk outfits sort of become like a craze, because people were copying Star Wars characters. So what was they? Was it
Close Encounters was 79, wasn't it?
Tuscan Raiders, was it? That wore the monks' outfits.
No, but what a lot of researchers believe is what happened in 1973 is basically that we had a one-off visit by a particular species who just done what they had to do and were never seen again. Because you can see now things are after September, October, things are really starting to intensify now.
Yep.
Keep rolling through.
No sound, so no humming. House-size object, here we go, seen through binoculars. That's in October. bottom of hovering object had pale grey lines that divided it into 3 sections, and each section was a circle of lines in the white bottom. So I'm just trying to... Object was pale grey lines. So was it a cube shape? Is what they're saying, is it? Was the circle of lines...
That description.
No, it doesn't tell, does it?
No.
Could be still a big oval thing, but why would it have smaller circles of lines underneath? Kind of interesting. Be interesting to see if these people actually drew anything. Here we go, buzzing sound. That's another one for abductees. There's the buzzing sound.
Yeah, especially when they're in close proximity. Yeah.
Police received about 100 calls, approximately 1.5 hours. So that would be on a 911 system somewhere, I guess.
Yeah.
It would be. Don't know if I've ever covered that one or not. I have covered some 911 UFO cases and episodes before. Saw a circular shape, hovering, jumped, made fantastic low altitude passes over the city. Because that would have been great to see, wouldn't it? So
Yeah.
I wonder what that was, 1973. Of course, I was in New Zealand then. We just moved out from UK by that stage. Germany, then UK, then the ship from UK to New Zealand. It was a lot of fun back in those days.
Yeah, and then there's a couple of more in Canada. So keep going down so you can see the intensification here in October.
Okay, we've got an Egyptian one here.
Yeah.
Attacks Israel. What's that mean?
Well, no, that's the Yom Kippur War.
I think there must be a picture there. Well, what's that got to do with UFOs, though?
It's what it's saying, but Paul, basically is that where's a conflict, UFOs tend to gather. So it's worth putting in there, isn't it? And then you've got on the 7th, you see.
So, quite a few in October. A lot in October.
I mean, there's no question in my mind.
Whoa,
UFOs
look at that. November.
You know, UFOs are drawn to places of human contact, conflict even.
2 11-year-old boys, but there are supporting reasons why this may well have been a good case. The boys were outside intending to play in a vacant, locked field in the neighborhood. When they arrived at the field, there was a dark object hovering above, 18 inches above. It seemed inactive in any way. One of the boys cautioningly, geez, a lot of noise there.
It's okay.
Sounds like you're riding a horse.
No. It's just a dog going out for his walk.
Yeah, it's really loud. It's picking up really loud on your mic. I just had to wait for it. Yeah, it's when you play it back, you're about to hear. You need to put little shoes on them. There was a
do about that.
carpet on the floor. Dark object hovering above 18 inches. Approached it, wrapped it with his flashlight. What's that mean? Went dong 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 on the side of the flashlight. TV interference, fused phone lines. So that other people reported. Robert's gone. Where you going, Robert? You went to the toilet 5 minutes ago. So yeah, there you go. You got the power outages, the EMF stuff, right? Are you back with us yet? Oh, look at that long description. Quebec.
Yeah, Quebec, Canada.
Yellow, white.
1923 Joliet, Quebec, Canada, 6 a.m.
Tints. Forgot the UFO, what? Parked in the roadside field. All these UFOs parking wherever they like, I don't know. They should be given a parking ticket. So yeah, quite a few
All
there.
kinds of strange sightings, aren't there?
I think the most was October there. December,
So then you've got France and Germany.
that's it. We'll get to the end.
Yeah,
So not too much
yeah.
in December for some reason.
Exactly. But by January they're gone.
That looks like it's tapered off. So they did their field investigations, scientists, aliens, and then they decided to leave. So
That's what some think. It's quite plausible.
yeah, but I don't think all these sound different though, not quite the same, but apart from it being oval in shape, quite a lot of them there. So on to the next link.
Yeah.
You notice back in the old days, though, they had more descriptions than photographs and videos like it is today in MUFON and all that. People were more like drawing down the pictures and describing what they saw straight after. Well, nowadays they're more like they get out a phone, concentrating on getting the video of something. They're not actually observing it with their eyes, because really you can see stuff with your eyes that the camera can't pick up. So that's a key important thing to do, really, if you can do both or have someone with you.
Yeah, well, I just know from my personal experience that when you do see something like that, the last thing on your mind is actually picking up your phone or your camera to take pictures. And I don't suppose that many people would have been carrying cameras around in 1973, would they?
I think it might be different today, though. First thing is to grab the phone and get it recorded. So we got the webpage up. Do you want to read out some of it, or do you want the reader to do it?
You can let the reader do this. You can run through the whole lot if you like. Just stop every couple of paragraphs so we can.
It's this webpage that we have trouble with again too.
Don't know why. It's well spaced out.
Yeah, must have some divvies there or tables.
Beginning in August 1973 and lasting until late December, the entire planet, but in particular the United States, experienced a wave of very specific sightings. What followed would be report after report of humanoid occupants inside or emerging from UFOs, or humanoid creatures approaching, and on occasion, even giving chase to witnesses. Several cases of alien abduction would also occur during the same period. While 1973 was a year with a much higher than normal amount of UFO sightings, the last third would prove to be even more active. The Center for UFO Studies, CUFOS, would discreetly study the wave, while they would, for the most part, withhold the witnesses' identities. The accounts make for a detailed and fascinating read. Furthermore, upon studying these figures, they would reflect very interestingly with a similar wave of sightings over France and other areas of Europe in 1954.
Okay. So what have we got here? A map or something?
Yeah, it's just pinpointing the.
All the sightings.
Yeah.
Looks like there was less on California back then. It's mostly on the east coast here.
Yeah. And of course it mentions Pascagoula there again, which is worth going over.
Yeah.
We'll cover that again because it's worthy of an episode all of its own.
Well, I've got probably 3 or 4 videos up on that one of their interviews. If you've not listened to it, go and dig them up.
Okay.
They're very good to
I'll
listen
give that one a miss then.
Well, the interviews cover it pretty good because one of them he reads out and it's really super clear. It's not the old reel-to-reel tape that they used to, or cassette tape they used. They used some high-quality TV type recording on one of them, anyway. But yeah,
the police interview is exceptional as well. You know, the ones when they're in the waiting room and they don't realise they're being recorded.
Yeah, I've got all that enhanced so you can hear it better.
Excellent.
But unfortunately, Google did its own volume adjustments, so it's a lot quieter than what it was if you played the video directly.
Okay.
They call it normalization, but filter. But because it peaked a couple of places, probably they brought it all down, which it shouldn't do. You should be able to tick it and say bypass it when you need to. But they reckon it's saving people's ears when they hop from video to video where it's over loud.
Perhaps the most famous encounter during the 1973 wave was the Pascagoula abductions, still regarded as one of the most intriguing and credible of all UFO accounts on record. It might also prove to be that the incident was just one out of many dozens of encounters around the United States during that time. Indeed, how many more went unreported we can only guess at. Although the wave of UFO humanoid sightings would last almost 5 months, the bulk of the activity was in the month of October. Of the 55 such sightings in the United States during the August to December period, for example, 36 occurred in October. Even stranger, 7 of these sightings took place on the same day, the 17th of October, with 2 more having taken place the previous evening, and 3 more on the evening before that.
So the ones that happen during the day, multiple ones in the day, are more interesting, because you might be able to...
Of course, yeah.
You can plot the movement of the so-called same UFO, hopefully, across the country. But yeah, last time you were showing your 2-fingered alien, and you're at the end of the night. Yeah. At the end of the night, you were moving your computer, and you pulled out the cable or something, and we lost you. So
yeah,
you were showing us another alien. I'm not sure if you got that ready tonight or not to show people.
No, I'm not taking it off my wall.
It's on your wall, is it?
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, it sounds like you need a longer cable though. And then you can turn it around, it doesn't matter.
No, it was just curled in the middle, that's all, Paul.
These sightings themselves were broken down into 2 distinct categories. First, there were the humanoid sightings. These were, as the name suggests, similar to humans, and would often feature communication with the witness. Secondly, there were the anthropoid sightings, which were often Bigfoot-like creatures, often described as monsters by the witness. And there were more of those than even more UFO researchers are comfortable with.
Right.
Yeah. Well, of course, it puts a lot of researchers off because they like to put things in maybe 1 or 2 boxes rather than... and it's understandable, really. I mean, the Bigfoot community rejects the UFO community and vice versa.
And the paranormal.
It's just nothing but conflict. And the paranormal, yeah.
When they could be interdimensional beings that sort of pop in and pop out.
Well, then they could be all sharing their information and see if there's an overlap.
Yeah. Or it could be time slips where people talk about they go back in time, but I think it's not going to be a time slip. It's going to be interdimensional, where there's a world like us that's connected to us, and multiple worlds. There might be one that's older in time and one that's further in time, or and some of them are really back in prehistoric days. Some are back in the Victorian era, and so on. So, although they're identical DNA to us, that they're different planets, and then sometimes they slip through, and you get the creature that comes from 10,000 years ago slipping into our thing, the caveman, or so to speak, which would be the Bigfoot. So it's all sorts of possibilities there. Maybe they don't live here, but they just simply fade in and out of our jungle.
Yeah, this is it. All cards on the table.
And others people have seen the Bigfoot's flying saucers,
Yes.
They've seen them through
But, you know,
the
that's
windows.
another subject. We're going to do that at the end. I think
Right.
Zach asked me to do that, so that's at the end of the show. If we get that far, I'm not sure.
We'll read out the next chunk.
No, because we've got a lot to go through on the Coyne incident.
I have covered Bigfoot UFO Connection, but it's only a 15-minute episode, so you can go and watch that if you want to.
Yeah, sure.
Late summer sightings. August-September 1973. The first sightings on record occurred during the late afternoon of the 9th of August in Exeter, New Hampshire. As they were driving along one of the main highways, a father and his son witnessed a landed UFO in a field at the side of the road. Furthermore, they could both clearly see a humanoid figure standing beside it. A month later, on the 9th of September, came a report of a UFO landing in Laurel Grove Cemetery in Savannah, Georgia. Several local teenagers witnessed the landing. They would state to witnessing a door open on the craft before 10 big, black hairy dogs came out and ran into the night. The UFO, which was glowing brightly, then dulled somewhat, as if someone had turned out the light. Just over a week later, on the 18th of September, a young married couple would experience a loud thud outside their home in Durham, New Hampshire. It was a little after 9:30 p.m. and dark outside. The young man walked around the property and stopped in his tracks when he saw 3 small, circular glowing spots, greenish in hue, on the ground. The sound of electrical noise filled the air, the source seeming to be from above him. He could also hear garbled voices, but again he couldn't locate where they came from. The couple would go to bed for the evening at 11:30 p.m. The glowing circles were still present on the garden. 2 nights later, in Sydney, North Carolina, a week of reports from several people began. Several witnesses would report a monster with large red glowing eyes. Perhaps bizarrely, this creature wore clothes, a brown shirt, black trousers, and a brown cap. It appeared to use a medallion-type item on its chest for communication and could leap 50-60 feet into the air.
Some interesting stuff there. The dog.
Jesus.
The hairy dog's coming at the UFO standing upright, I guess. A werewolf type scenario. Because there's a dogman type Bigfoot in the swamps of Florida, isn't there?
Skunk all over the States, Canada as well.
And of course, the red glowing eyes is very common with the Bigfoots as well. And also some aliens, obviously. Kind of strange. Why red, though? Why would they be glowing, though? It's kind of strange.
Don't know, is it just reflecting light?
Well, normally
some animals do that.
I think albinos, they have pink eyes, don't they? Because they got no pigment, so the blood colour shines through. So maybe it's something to do with that there's some sort of blood flow, and I don't know, maybe they got that bacteria that sort of glows in the eyes. But it seems strange to have glowing things in the eyes, though. Could be contact lenses, I guess, something like that, with some protective eye cover of some sort, which they don't see it as glasses. They probably think that it's got red glowing eyes, but they've probably got the covering, right?
It's all speculation, of course, but yeah.
And what was the last bit here? Oh, that's it. Yeah. So we'll just carry on to the next one then.
Yeah.
The somewhere between Columbus and Mansfield sighting, although the exact date is not certain. The sighting along Interstate 71 in Ohio between Columbus and Mansfield is thought to have taken place in late September. It was well after midnight when the witness noticed a flashing light behind his car. First it was to his right, then his left. It finally appeared in front of him. It then sped off into the night ahead of him. He was driving at a speed of around 70 miles per hour. He believes he must have lost consciousness for some reason. The next thing the witness could remember was waking up behind the wheel of the moving vehicle, as it moved at nearly 90 miles per hour. When the man finally arrived at his Cleveland home, he realized he could not account for nearly an hour of time. Although he would attempt to put the episode out of his mind, he would begin to experience bizarre psychic episodes and would ultimately seek hypnotic regression. He would recall shortly after seeing the strange lights of turning off I-71 although he had no idea, even at the time, why he was doing this. He was driving along a lonely, narrow tree-lined road. It was then he could see 3 entities on the road. One was stood in front, while the other 2 were beside his car. They appeared to be floating. Suddenly, a craft was approaching them from above. Before he could react, he was rising towards the craft. Terror filled his mind. He was placed on a table. The strange entities were around him. He could make out a metallic look to their clothing. One of the creatures was examining his legs, while another had an instrument nearer to his head. Suddenly came a bright light. Then he was back in his car.
It's funny how many times we hear about 3 beings. Not one.
Just going to say, but there's quite a lot of things in that little case that are quite familiar.
And not 2 aliens or 1 alien, but 3 aliens. And normally one of them is the leader as well.
Cars, if nothing had happened, and then later, of course, things start coming back. You know, kind of a psychosis, and very disturbing.
Yeah. Especially if you're by yourself, I'd say. If you got someone with you, less likely to be as frightened than you would be alone.
Chances are you're going to be separated at some stage.
Right. Not sure what that picture is, but it has no description.
No, just noticed that.
It could be what they saw inside, maybe. I don't know, but it kind of looks like something from Star Trek. Robotic arm. Surgery table of some kind in future, but also it. Monsters.
Don't know what that witness was describing, do we?
No.
Monsters and disappearing triangles. On the 1st of October in Anthony Hill, Tennessee, during a thunderstorm, 3 teenagers would report a huge, hairy, robot-like creature in the woodlands of the area. It raised its arms and had a round head. It would at first seem wise to dismiss this account. However, several corroborating statements of seeing a UFO over the area the youngsters claimed the sightings occurred would suggest otherwise, as would the strange imprints found at the location. Around 10 days later in Alabama, a 3-year-old boy would come in to his mother after playing outside. He would matter-of-factly inform her that he had been playing with an old monster with grey and wrinkled skin. On the 4th of October in Symia Valley, California, came a sighting of a triangular object in a dust cloud at the side of the road. The witness was driving along the Symia freeway when he spotted the object. It hovered around 10 feet from the ground. On top of the craft was a clear bubble shape that seemed to be swiveling around. On the underside, a rope of some sort looked to be hanging from an unseen opening. A humanoid appeared from out of the craft on the top side. It would look at the witness for a moment before scrambling out of sight. The humanoid was a similar size to a human adult. It seemed to be dressed in some kind of wetsuit, silver in color. A whirring noise suddenly broke what was an otherwise silent atmosphere. The bubble on top of the craft began to turn a little faster as it did so. Out of nowhere, a fog appeared and enveloped the object. By the time the fog cleared, the craft was gone.
So does that sound like interdimensional portal?
Yeah, that kind of thing before.
Fog, that sounds like something from 1950s sci-fi.
These cases are so bizarre. You know, it's very difficult what to make out of them. You know,
a robot dressed in fur. It doesn't sound like a Bigfoot there, though, does it? Human size, because they're normally a lot bigger, like up to 10 feet, which is quite big. Yeah, why would you have a robot dressed in furry thing, unless you wanted to disguise it, of course. So it's possible, I guess. Humanoid.
Most people think that the alien grey is this dominant species, you know, that everybody sees. It's far from that at all. It's nothing like that.
Or it might be that the UFO had already bumped into like a bear or something like that and thought, oh well, let's blend in so they won't be as scared when we approach the next lot.
I don't know. That's far too much speculation for me, Paul.
You got no imagination, so yeah. Hey, there's a bear. Let's duplicate that into our robot so we don't scare the next lot, and then go to a house and scare the crap out of them. I don't know. My story sort of fits it.
Sure.
Yes, UFO people got no imagination. How do you think sci-fis are made? That would be good sci-fi. Oh, what's that bang noise? Hey, we just had an earthquake. Earth tremor here. Because the fan's wobbling. Yeah. Hopefully it wasn't a big one up in the North Island, because sometimes we feel it down here, see? Or a big one coming. So if I disappear offline, you know something's happened.
Okay, then.
Because it will take out the internet and power, probably.
Yeah, I'm sure it will.
And even though we're on backup power here, but the phone lines could go off for a wee while and break the string. Let's see, play the next bit.
The mid-October surge shortly after midnight on the 15th of October in Monroe, Wisconsin. The witness awoke to find their room glowing orange and a high-pitched whirring sound filling their ears. Suddenly, 3 humanoid creatures appeared out of nowhere in the bedroom. They were around 5 feet tall, with wrinkled, grey skin and bald heads. He must have passed out, as the next thing he knew he was sat against the wall with the creatures in front of him. They seemed to be examining him. One of them had an oval object that it would pass over this body. He caught sight of it as it passed over his legs. To his astonishment, he could see his bones through the object. It must have been some highly advanced, real-time, X-ray device. Just as the creature reached towards his head, he passed out again. He would awaken near dawn. The witness would keep the incident to himself for some time. However, following a similar encounter happening to his girlfriend, he would come forward with his report to UFOS. On the same evening in Berea, Tennessee, the Coyne family would awaken to the sound of their dogs barking frantically. Looking outside, they could clearly see the bright lights of a UFO in the woods nearby. The following morning, the family would find claw-like tracks as well as landing marks over the area they had seen the lights. On the same evening, on Interstate 90 near Gulfport, Missouri, a taxi driver would witness an oblong UFO with a blue light pass overhead. It would land somewhere in front of his vehicle, which at the same time stalled as well as the electrics going dead. He sat still in the vehicle. Suddenly, a claw-like hand tapped on the window as something rushed past.
Good day. Claw-like hand.
Just clear things up. CUFOS has come up several times now. That's the Centre for UFO Studies. That's the one Alan Hynek formed, which is still being run by his daughter today, I believe.
I was just going to say, what does that mean? So you beat me to it.
UFO Studies.
Ghost-like figures. So this is a paranormal aspect to it now. Shadow people, I guess, we're talking about here. Which I've always said could be interdimensional, and maybe the study in us, but sometimes we get to see them by accident, is another thing. Could possibly be. Or they might be some sort of entity that mimics people that live there. So you think that's their dead relative when it's not. It might be like a parrot entity. So let's have a read of it.
Ghost-like figures and abductions. In Albany, Ohio, still on the 16th of October, after arriving home for the evening, the witness could see a ghost-like figure in the distance, floating around 50 feet from the ground. Judging by the surroundings, the creature could have been no more than 4 feet tall and was extremely thin. It also appeared to have very tight-fitting clothing, as if they had been draped in a close-fitting sheet. She stood and watched the strange creature for several moments before noticing a bright light moving towards it. When it got to around 200 feet, the creature appeared to vanish. Other sightings of strange lights were reported locally in nearby Athens on the same evening.
On to the rest of it.
Yeah.
At roughly the same time, in Burbank, California, 2 young children would report a UFO landing in their backyard. It had, according to the 4-year-old, a pointed top and rays of light coming from underneath. 4 occupants invited the boy to look inside the ship. Before he had the chance to, however, the craft vanished. Seconds later, the boy's father appeared from inside to investigate why the family dog was barking so excitedly. In Lehi, Utah, as the evening of the 16th of October morphed into the early hours of the 17th, a woman along with her 3 children and the son of their neighbor were all abducted from the family home and taken on board the craft. All were subject to intense medical examinations by strange humanoid creatures. The main witness could remember being in a big room with lots of lights and buttons, as well as glass tubes containing liquids. She could see 4 or 5 humanoid creatures and at least 2 humans. The humanoids had large heads and 2 or 3 big claws. These would open like a clasp.
Okay. Now, what does that relate to, Paul?
Pascagoula.
Yes. Same here.
Mm-hmm. Pointy heads.
Yeah.
Or was the craft pointy head? Pointy. I noticed a pointy thing. I said draped in close-fitting sheet, which sounds like a ghost. Why would it be a sheet though? That wasn't Pascagoula there.
Have to be a sheet, does it, Paul? It was just the way the witnesses described it as best as they could.
Woman, along with her 3 children, abducted, taken aboard a craft, same as Pascagoula. Intense medical examination, definitely Pascagoula that happened. Witness could remember it being a big room, lots of lights and buttons. That sounds like Pascagoula as well, doesn't it? Glass tubes containing liquids. I don't remember, but that's something new. She could see 4 of the 5 humanoids creatures and at least 2 humans. So this sounds a bit more advanced than the Pascagoula one. This almost sounds like cloning or something going on. Humanoids had large heads and 2 or 3 big claws. Would open like a clasp, like a crab.
There's a definite correlation there.
I don't think that's a description of it. Absolutely
not. What the hell?
I think that must be a movie of some kind, is it?
I wish they wouldn't do that.
They should put some real pictures, or at least a drawing of the description. That would be a lot better than just putting random artwork that kind of looks like a clasping hand. I suppose because it's got clasped hands here.
Yeah.
But it's nothing like the description. Human-like is definitely not a robot, so...
Potato monster, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You used to use adverts.
See, when you talk about claw-like grasping hands, that sounds almost like an underwater type creature that lives under the water, that they develop claws for grabbing hold of their food or whatever. But see, our fingers are designed for climbing up trees and grabbing on branches like apes. So let's read out the next one. Oh, that's a long one, is it? Seems too long, that one. Do we break it up? Oh no, it must have gone too far. Robot-like. Gone way too far. Hang on.
Yeah.
Let's just scroll really quickly. Oh, I think it went super fast then. Yes, I don't know. It's only on this particular web page it does that. There we go.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, we just got a sub. Gerard M. Welcome aboard. I'm not sure if you come from Secure Team channel or just found us while we're doing the live. No one said hi on the side, so we don't know who's out there.
The explosive day of the 17th of October 1973, several hours later, in Pikesville, Maryland, a woman was brought from sleep by the sound of an explosion. As she stepped outside of her property and onto the porch, She could see an oblong-shaped object in front of her. It was red but transparent. On the top side of the craft was a strange bubble. Even more bizarre for the witness, inside the bubble was a human figure who appeared to be standing. On their way out of New Jersey to New York City, 2 men driving along Route 23 would report seeing a large, round, silver craft hovering over a field that ran along the roadside. They continued to watch the craft, amazed to see it begin to descend. They brought their car to a stop and stepped out of the vehicle in time to see the UFO land. 7 humanoids emerged from the craft, and while the driver entered the car and sped off in panic, the second gentleman claimed to have spoken to the occupants. It perhaps should be noted that while this particular sighting appears very likely, the interaction was highlighted as questionable by investigators. A sighting in Watauga, Tennessee a little later almost turned into an abduction. According to the witness, a copper-colored, circular UFO would hover only a foot or 2 from the ground. In an open doorway, a humanoid creature roughly around 6 feet tall reached out of the craft and tried to grab 2 children. Witnesses claim the creature had claw-like hands. There were at least 6 other UFO reports in the region on the same day.
So now we've got a copper-coloured UFO, which is very rare. Don't think we've had too many descriptions of those ones, but again, we've got claw-like hands here. Of course, we don't know what the Pascagoula one was, so we don't know if it was copper-coloured or not, because they said it was a bright light. So,
nighttime sighting.
So if it emits a lot of light, you can't actually see the craft itself, because that light blinds your eyes, of course. But yeah, claw-like hands, same as Pascagoula there. Circular UFO, a foot or 2 off the ground. An open doorway. So obviously they can step out without a ramp. But it doesn't say they're floating though, like the Pascagoula one. Robot-like. So they said their creatures were robot-like. So this is 73 still in Alabama, right? Oh, I think something went wrong there. What's going on here? So that might be it. It's got some sort of drag and drops feature. I wonder how you can turn that off, because that's what's messing us up. Robot-like.
Yeah.
All these add-ons that Windows put on that you don't want.
Robot-like creatures over Alabama. A bizarre chase account would very likely have been dismissed if it hadn't come via Police Chief Jeff Grienshaw. He would also manage to capture a photograph of the humanoid in a silvery suit. Grienshaw had ventured out to an area in Forkville, Alabama, to investigate reports of UFO sightings there. When he spotted the metallic-looking creature, he pulled the car over to the side of the road. The creature moved towards the vehicle at first, but then turned and ran in the opposite direction. Grienshaw gave chase for several minutes, but the creature sped up considerably. He would lose sight of it when his car came off the road temporarily. Another sighting in Alabama on the 17th of October came from Loxley. Pickup driver Clarence Patterson was moving along the highway when a cigar-shaped UFO cast an illuminous green light over the vehicle. The next thing Patterson was aware, the truck was rising off the road and was pulled into the craft overhead. At least 6 robot-like beings would drag him from the truck's cabin. Bizarrely, he was certain these robots could read his thoughts. It was then he blacked out. The next thing he knew, he awoke in the driver's seat of the moving truck. He was traveling around 90 miles per hour with no idea how long he had been unconscious. One interesting detail given by Patterson was the scent of sulfur that remained with him long after the incident. Many witnesses to UFO sightings, and specifically alien abductees, often mention a strong aroma of sulfur during their encounters.
So I don't know if the aliens fart or not. Why sulfur though? Maybe the air mixture uses sulfur, maybe. Can't think of any reason why it'd be sulfur, but sulfur always relates to also paranormal. A foul smell, right? Which is normally related to demons or demon aliens. But yeah, I think there's probably more to this the smell aspect of it, because they might come from a planet where sulfur is part of the air mixture, and maybe it's part of the
There's another smell that's often reported, isn't it?
yeah, it's toxic to us though. Sulfur dioxide is it, and you got of course sulfuric acid as well. Yeah, pretty pretty violent. So maybe the aliens have got acid blood like the alien movies.
Uric acid, I thought that was vinegar.
Sulfuric acid. No, vinegar is. It's on top of my head here, but I can't remember the name of it. Acetic acid? No, not acetic. That's oranges.
Could be no. That's you're right. That's fruit.
Citric acid, acetic acid. No, that's vinegar, isn't it? Acetic.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah. Oh, let's Google it. Oh, guess what? I'm going to click the wrong thing. So, yeah, I have to get the thing up again. I think it's still in here though. Where do we get to?
Anyway, it's only vinegar.
You've looked it up, have you? Next bit was down here, wasn't it? Salt substance continue. But that's quite interesting. It'd be interesting to be able to search the database on in all the counters that noticed a sulfuric acid smell, or sulfur smell, I should say.
Sure.
Vinegar type acid. That's not even how you spell vinegar, is it?
There you go.
Vinegar, acetic acid. There you go. My memory wasn't too bad. Contains 5 to 20% acetic acid by volume. We drink a lot of malt vinegar. I suppose you do in the UK as well. Have it on your chips, do you? The malt vinegar, it makes a good flavour.
Yeah, actually. No, not malt. No, that's not generally used.
Yeah, malt vinegar, brown vinegar, as we call it, on chips with salt. Amazing taste. Yeah, this comes from Britain. Our parents brought that habit.
Sightings continue across America a little later, just outside of Danielsville, Georgia. Paul Brown would make an emergency stop after an oval-shaped craft landed in the middle of the road around 300 feet in front of him. Two 4-foot creatures emerged from the underside of the craft. They looked around momentarily before scrambling back into the oval object upon seeing Brown. With an audible whoosh, the craft ascended at breakneck speed. As evening approached in Europa, Missouri, drivers witnessed a UFO, around 50 feet wide, hovering over Highway 82. The main witness was watching the craft when he realized his vehicle had simply cut out. Another car seemingly experienced similar difficulties as it slowed behind his. Above the first craft, a second craft hovered. A beam of light appeared to connect the two huge discs. As the witnesses looked on, a creature appeared and descended from the top craft to the bottom one. Both crafts disappeared shortly after. The following day, two teenagers were chased by a white thing in Chatham, Virginia, while out on White Oak Mountain. The creature was around 4 feet tall, with a large head and a shimmering body. Although there were no other reports of the strange creature, several reports of UFOs are on record in the area that day. The day after, on the 19th of October, a woman would pull her car over to the roadside in Interstate 75 near Ashburn, Georgia. It had suddenly stalled for no apparent reason. Out of nowhere, a strange metallic man with a bubble dome on his head appeared. It moved like a robot and had a shiny appearance, although the arms were narrow and wrinkled. It would walk around the vehicle before vanishing into thin air.
There's a lot of robots in 1973.
Indeed.
A lot of sightings with robots. What's that meant to be, a robot?
I think that's a genuine picture.
What's it say? Picture by Officer Greenslaw.
Greenshaw, humanoid robots, yeah. That's been over, and they reckon it was a guy pulling the prank, covered himself in tinfoil.
Yes, it doesn't look very comfortable, does it? Yeah, it kind of looks like a guy, though. Look where he's standing here. It does look like it's a prank.
Looks like he's got heavy boots on.
Yeah, like what they had in discos back in those days with the high heels. It looks like he's got a bit of a gut on him. He likes his salt and vinegar chips. And he's got, what, claw hands there, is it? Although it doesn't look like claws, it looks like gloves, right? Gloves.
Hard to think, though, that a copper police officer wouldn't realise at that kind of distance. He looks fairly close up to it there when he's taking the photo.
Did he take the photo, or was it on like a dash cam?
No, have a look. And no, it wouldn't have been dash cam in 1973, Paul.
Well, I don't know. Americans always used to have cameras everywhere, didn't they, on stuff before everybody else. Moved like a robot, shiny appearance. It does sound a wee bit like the Pascagoula one again, though, doesn't it? With the crinkly string. That looks very crinkly.
Yep.
I suppose you could say they're like like hands here, but and it looks like almost like it's got pointy ears there too. But a bit hard to tell on that photograph. I wonder if we can brighten it. But we'll carry on.
Done.
Yes, you know me. I'd like to run it through filters just to bring out more details. But yeah. We got someone
the
on the side.
silver-suited creatures of Indiana, although the sightings would begin to slow somewhat following the peak of the 16th or 17th of October, many more reports would arrive with UFOs. On the 22nd of October in Hartford City, Indiana, for example, 3 separate sightings of 4-foot humanoids in silver suits were reported. One report, from Debbie Kahn, who saw them crossing a road, would state upon seeing her, one of them raised their arms as if in an attempt to scare her. Around 15 minutes later, the Donathan family would witness 2 bright, silver humanoids. Each had no defining features other than their bizarrely boxed feet. As their car approached them from behind, it was obvious the creatures were trying to get off the main road. They eventually did so, and the following day imprints were discovered in the location where Donathan said the encounter took place. Gary Flatter was a local investigator and was working on the above Donathan case when he had his own experience 2 hours later. As he was surveying the area, he suddenly noticed a line of small mammals in the distance. It was then he also noticed an uncomfortable high-pitched sound. He would shine his truck headlights in the direction of the sound and could clearly see the 2 creatures described by the Donathans. They would turn to face him, forcing him to dim his headlights, such was the glare bouncing from their shiny suits. They appeared to be wearing gas masks, and their boxed feet appeared to be artificial, as if they adorned some kind of spacesuit. As he watched them, they bent their knees slightly, and then with a jumping motion flew off like a helicopter.
Flew off like a helicopter.
Jesus. What the hell are we describing there?
They bent their knees slightly, and then with a jumping motion flew off like a helicopter. Flew off like a helicopter, so basically lifted up into the sky, so some sort of jetpack, maybe?
I mean, it just depends on their interpretation. They could have been really simple people, couldn't they? And, if it lifted off vertically, they might have described that as a helicopter. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what the meaning, yeah. Like small mammals, 4 foot. Again, that sounds very same thing as alien greys, doesn't it? But, yeah, it's funny how things change with time, Be a good comparison to have all the pictures of aliens each month over the whole years and see if any are the same from past to now. Because often the skeptics say that people base their alien descriptions on what they see in the movies, which
TV movies, Close Encounters, all these things.
Yeah, or Lost in Space. I think 73 would have been. But oh, your dog's
Star
back.
Trek.
Yeah,
he's
Star
back,
Trek. Yeah. Oh, there we go. There's that doll thing again that I debunked before with the third phase of the moon's stupid alien video they did. Apparently you can buy those at if I can stop it. Why does it seem to want to go crazy there? Top. There we go. Seems to want to go fast that radio. Who's that? And that's not Dr. Greer, is it? Oh no.
No.
But you see this thing here, you can buy these a lot of people.
That's John Bentry.
This alien doll, you can see that they're 4 foot size. You can buy miniature ones. But there it is. What's his name?
That's John Bentry on the left, and I'm not sure who this guy is on the right. It's John Bentry from MUFON.
Yeah, but I'm saying this alien is the one based on that doll from Bushman. What's her name? Boyd Bushman.
Oh, Boyd Bushman. No. That was only a little tiny thing, Paul.
Yeah, you can get different sizes. Is what I'm saying. This is the big size.
That's from Walmart.
Now you can get these ones now at UFO conferences. You can buy them.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, but they use these. When they have a table set up, they normally have one of these aliens at the end of it. Some of the people have one of them they cut around. Anyway,
yeah, but that's only fun, isn't it?
Oh yeah, but I'm saying this is how you can fake stuff though, because that looks like a real alien, right?
Oh sure, yeah, it's detailed.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Third Phase of the Moon put up something recently, and one of them is actually that doll there. They just got it looking downwards.
Let me just sort this dog out, mate.
Okay.
The New Hampshire sightings. The last cluster of the 1973 humanoid sightings occurred in early November in GOFFSTOW in New Hampshire. The first saw the witness, Florence Dow, hear a sudden thump on the front of her property one evening. She went to the front of the house and saw a motionless figure in an old black coat. The bizarre creature remained there for several minutes before disappearing. While driving home late one evening, Linda Morrill witnessed a yellow-orange globe in front of her vehicle. The craft had a honeycomb design, aside from one large, oval window. She stared intently at this window, amazed that she could see a humanoid figure inside the craft. It appeared to have grey, wrinkled skin, with a lighter-coloured head to its body, although it may have had a suit on. She could also clearly see that the eyes were larger than they should be for the size of its head. Linda wasn't sure if the creature could see her, but she could hardly help the feeling of being drawn to the craft. She managed to tear herself from its influence and found refuge in a nearby house. It isn't clear if Linda experienced any missing time. At the time of the report, she didn't wish to pursue regression therapy to find out. Rex Snow and his wife would awaken late one night to the sound of activity outside their house. Upon inspection, Rex could see two humanoids who were self-luminous and adorned a tight silver suit. They were around 4 foot tall. They appeared to be examining the ground around them as if they were collecting specimens. The family guard dog would approach them as if about to attack but would stop suddenly in his tracks. He would then turn around and head back to the family home.
So, crinkly skin, that also sounds very much like the elephant skin that Pascagoula guy was talking about. Grey skin. What else we got there? Lighter coloured head. It doesn't match the pointy head or the pointy ears. No claw-like hands this time. But the crinkly skin there was an interesting one. I'd say that's like a it's more likely to be like a thin skin suit over the body, which is crinkled. What else was here? 4 foot tall. Sounds very typical alien size, that, doesn't it? So you're back with us there.
I am indeed, Paul.
The family guard dog would approach them as if they were about to attack, but would stop suddenly in its tracks. Well, most dogs do that though. You know, Charlie charges towards you, and then if he's not sure, you hold on the brakes and just stand there woofing, and then back off and go behind you. Say, "Oh, you protect me instead." So dogs are funny. He's always got to be at the front door, though. First at the front to check out who it is. He's always got to be first to greet people. I suppose your dog's the same, is it, Robert? The dog always has to be the first to greet someone before you can.
Well, yeah, he's there to check them out first.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Charlie's the same, right? He'll try and he'll push through you or go through your legs and try and get to the person.
Oh, yeah.
Then that sort of scares some people, because some people are scared of dogs, unfortunately. And dogs
Especially big dog.
Yeah, your dog's big, but he's only medium size. But he is funny.
Surely not just hysteria. The sightings became much more sporadic following the New Hampshire episode, although they would continue until mid-December. Just what these sightings were, and if there was a connection between them, is very much the question. It is unlikely to be a case of hysteria or mass suggestion. While the public was aware that UFO sightings were increasing, it was hardly a serious matter in the media. Most that heard such stories assumed the witness had sunk one too many beers or smoked too strong a joint. Furthermore, such organizations as UFOS would conduct themselves with discretion. And further still, 1973 was long before the age of the internet. Incidents could occur in different states, even different towns, and unless they attracted national news, nobody outside of the area would be aware. It is interesting that there were several claims of creatures with claw-like hands. This is interesting in that it is such a bizarre detail it screams authenticity. What's more, although there are claims of such claws in other accounts, it seems particularly prevalent in the 1973 cases. In short, it would appear that something was roaming around the United States throughout the last third of 1973. Perhaps it was visitors from another world on a fact-finding mission. Or perhaps these visitations were the result of some kind of naturally occurring portal or gateway. Maybe this is the reason for the cluster of sightings in mid to late October. Perhaps that is why a similar wave occurred in 1954, with the peak of that wave also occurring in October of that year. Or maybe the sightings have a connection to a secret military experiment. Only by examining other waves and accounts, we will eventually find out just what all those people saw in the fall of 1973.
So I think that's to the end of it. Yep.
Yeah, sure.
So, claw-like hands there was the common thing, and 4 foot tall. But how tall were the Pascagoula ones? I can't remember. I thought they were human sized. I think he said.
I think they were fairly tall.
Yeah. So the size is variant, but in this particular case, a lot of them were 4 foot tall. What else? Wrinkly skin was another common thing. They said elephant skin. Grey colour. Pointy heads or something was there, wasn't it? Something pointy anyway. On to the next one. So far, the average attention span for our live has been 5 minutes.
This is the real meat of today's episode, this the Coyne incident. Coyne helicopter UFO incident, and try and take this in as you go along, Paul, if you're not familiar with the case, because it could be quite important later.
Right, I'll try.
Okay, do your best.
So I'll just giving you a rundown of the visitors so far. We've had 24 visits. Okay. And the average attention span is 5 minutes. That's probably the worst we've had so far. So I don't know. Ah, this one. I've seen that picture before. I actually.
Kind of introduction to it, but there we go.
Right, I forgot to, before we leave, that location was for the wave in '73. Was that location there? What was the city now?
Piedmont was Mississippi.
Missouri, yeah. Missouri.
Have we covered that Piedmont yet?
Yeah, I forgot to bring up the map. Of course, this next location is where?
Hold on, have I given you the tab with Piedmont?
This is, oh right, this is the location of it, is it? So I thought we were doing this one with the helicopter.
Right, okay, wrong tab.
Okay, so that's what we're doing. We're doing the helicopter one, right? And a UFO, which is got that drawing of it here. But the last one we were looking at was in this location, Missouri, and this is still in Missouri, is it?
No. Are we on the helicopter one now?
Yes, so we're in Mansfield, Ohio. So that's close by, I think, on this map. Roughly the same location, isn't it? Mansfield should give us a location. So it's in that same area.
Yeah.
And I think it's quite rural there as well. You can see there's a lot of trees on that map there. A lot of farmland out that way. Of course, this is not too far away from the red-eyed goblins, wasn't it? Down that way, West Virginia. The red-eyed aliens. Oh, he's gone again. Are you with us? You keep leaving.
Yeah.
You keep disappearing on us. So yeah, I was just talking. This is the same area for the Mothman and the goblins, all next door in West Virginia. But you can see there's a lot of farmland and the central city there. But yeah, all this area here is where the red-eyed beings all seem to be seen, wasn't it? So West Virginia over this way was the Mothman and the Pascagoula. Not Pascagoula. Oh yeah, Pascagoula was down there. And who else? Hopkinsville goblins down that way. So quite an interesting area down there going on. So we read out some of this on this new case, talking about a helicopter versus a UFO.
Time, Paul.
Sorry?
Just a couple of paragraphs at a time.
Yep. You're cutting out again for some reason, I'm not sure. If we talk at each other, it seems to cut you out. But it's alright. As long as it's coming out on the live stream, right. Let us know if there's any audio
The incident
problems.
of October 1973 over Mansfield, Ohio, was witnessed by 4 professional military pilots, as well as multiple witnesses on the ground. Furthermore, the encounter is still unexplained but considered one of the more authentic of such incidents. An unknown and highly advanced aircraft would zoom in on a military helicopter and then stop suddenly in front of them, hovering silently.
There's a picture of it, or a rendering. Obviously we got no photographs for this one. We also got a drawing here. So what's that say? Terrible sketch. They've coloured it so it doesn't get copyright, I guess. Can you read what it says there? Red light at the front.
Well, 50 to 60 feet in length.
You've got good eyes so you can read that. So what's that thing coming out? A beam of light, is it?
Side, steady light green light from the craft.
Yeah. What's that top up the top right there? Something off I can read.
Collection of green off hollowed craft. I don't know what this.
So high, how high was it there? 19 feet, does it say there?
Altitude doesn't give altitude there.
No, the height of the craft. 18 feet. Anyway,
Can't see that.
I think we got a bit of a drawing of that on this page here somewhere. So that's that one there, I think. Is that the one? A helicopter? Oh, that's a fairly good picture of a helicopter. The intercept of the UFO, I guess. What else we got? Another picture, helicopter. Beam of green light hitting the helicopter. So it looks like it's pretty much the same thickness as a helicopter itself. Probably good enough for people, small people to walk around.
Possibly take that serious, can we? It's just an artist's rendition, yeah.
Off the drawing.
Just relying on the testimony here.
Oh, this is a picture of the drawing. Here's one. That one's better. So you can read that one, I think. Reflection of green off hull of craft. Looks like the edge of it's got clipped here though. See if we can open it up. Looks like it's got clipped, isn't it? Good, better drawing, but it's got clipped. Useless. Oh, that one's really clipped. Oh well, thought we were going to get a better one where we could read it out. Each of the pilots of the show.
Each of the pilots would sign sworn testimony regarding the authenticity of the encounter. Such was the conviction of what they saw. Perhaps more important was the commander of the helicopter in question chose to speak to the media before debriefing his superiors. This, rightly or wrongly depending on your perspective, prevented any aspect of the incident from being classified. UFO researchers still actively investigate the case today and still seek witnesses who may not have come forward with their accounts. We will look at some of those new reports from previously unknown witnesses a little later. Before we look at the Mansfield incident in a little more detail, though, check out the video below. It looks at not only the basics of this case, but briefly at other sightings from experienced pilots.
So can we play that? Have you checked it out?
Yeah, I have, but I'm not sure we can.
Do you know who was it? TV show or what? It's probably Unsolved Mysteries again, is it? Let's see. Let's have a look. Explorer 1, whatever that is. Let's just play it a little bit. See how it starts. Can't hear anything. Auckland Star, what's that got to do with it? Looks like it's someone's own channel, but looks of it. Oh, here we go. Got an interview coming up. Why is there no sound? I didn't check the sound for video, did I? Should be working though. Don't tell me something screwed up. Oh, that looks like the case there. I don't think we got any sound again. Stupid thing. It looks like it was an interview. Is there anything I didn't check today? Before we started? There's never a problem. I think I can hear something.
Well, I can't hear a damn thing.
That's very faint.
And that took just a matter of minutes.
Colonel Coyne put the helicopter into a dive to try to avoid impact. When he and his crew looked up, the object was keeping pace with them.
While I was in this position, the green light came out from the undercarriage of the UFO.
Colonel Coyne cut the power and set the controls for a steep dive. In spite of this, the helicopter was pulled upward toward the UFO from an altitude of 1,700 feet to an altitude of above 3,700 feet. Colonel Coyne and his crew observed the strange UFO at close range for approximately 2 minutes.
The object that I viewed that particular evening had a high degree of technology. It was composed of a structure and a design that we do not have. The object can move through the atmosphere without causing any turbulence. It can move at high speeds below 10,000 feet. There are no vertical or horizontal stabilizers, no landing gear, no source of propulsion reflected on the craft. Looks like it could go fly in space.
Crazy sound, yeah. But anyway, we'll probably move on. So yeah, it was something to do with the plug-in on the browser not kicking in for some reason.
Yeah, never mind about that. But what's happened? He's seen this object on a collision course. He's gone into a full dive. Rather than going down, he's been pulled up to around 2,000 feet. The whole time, the cockpit's bathed in a green light. And the whole time, ground. There's witnesses observing this as well, both military and civilians.
There's Mr. Stanton Freeman in his early days.
Yeah.
Controlled vehicles. So I'm not too sure what TV show that's from, but it sounds like it's of a TV thing. So we won't play too much of it. We'll just carry on.
Sure.
So, collision course. You'd think an interview would be public domain by now, wouldn't you? Especially 73, but you never know with Google. You know, TV companies, Bollywood or Hollywood. So yeah, if I have that problem, I've got to click on that plug-in volume thing to fix it. Another bug.
Collision course with a strange red light. As the Army Reserve One helicopter cut through the night sky on the 18th of October 1973, events were about to become surreal. The four-man crew, Captain Lawrence Coyne, Lieutenant Arago Jesse, Sergeant John Healy, and Robert Yanesk had traveled from Cleveland to Columbus earlier that evening for a regular standard medical examination. Following that, they would board their vehicle at 10:30 p.m. and leave for their return journey back to Cleveland. It was while they were over Mansfield that the night took a strange turn. They were flying at 2,500 feet, the mixture of woods, hills, and farmland below them. It was Healy who first spotted the strange red light to their left. It was at some distance, but it looked too bright to be a standard aircraft light. He would keep the sighting to himself but would keep his eye on it. Several moments later, Yanesk noticed the red light also. When it began to close in on their craft, he informed his commander, Coyne. Believing themselves to be on a collision course with the object, Coyne thrust the helicopter down, descending around 500 feet. As he did so, he would request information from the control tower in Mansfield. A few seconds after initial radio contact with the tower, their communications began to be interrupted. The red object was still heading in their direction. The men prepared for impact.
Okay. So normally when I hear red-green light, though, I normally think of aircraft wingtip lights, right?
Yeah, we all do, yeah.
And I think the red light is on the left-hand side, isn't it? I can't remember now. Plane lights. Well, why would they... is that left-hand side? Let's see, red lights. green light on the right ring. There you go. So that's passing overhead, and you'd see the red. So that means the craft would have to be the other way around, right? Let's see, right wing, left wing. Oh no, that's from looking at the top of it. So that means you'd be looking at the craft from underneath if it was the other way around. And travelling upside down too, wouldn't it? So it can't be a normal plane in that case, can it? From that angle, unless it's flying away. So that sort of discounts it being a plane.
If you look at all the facts, I don't think it was a plane.
No. So we got down to there. Men prepared for impact. So if it was red on that side, that means the plane would have to been flying away from, which means you won't get impact. So it discounts it being a plane. And I don't think helicopters have red and green lights. They only have a red and maybe a white blinking one, I think it is.
The whole cabin turned green. Just as the object was about to crash into the helicopter, it came to a complete stop directly in front and slightly above them. The metallic, cigar-shaped object hung in the air, filling the entire windshield. The crew would estimate the object to be around 60 feet in length and around 20 feet high. All four men looked on in awe of this huge, otherworldly craft. Suddenly, a green light swung from underneath and hit the windshield of the helicopter. According to Coyne, the whole cabin turned green as the light illuminated everything in a bright green wash. After a few seconds, the light went out and the object moved up and to the west at great speed. Coyne, who had the helicopter's height locked throughout the incident at 1,700 feet, realized they were suddenly at a height of 3,500 feet. They had climbed almost 2,000 feet in a matter of seconds and never knew it. Suddenly a bump nudged the helicopter, and instinctively Coyne climbed slightly, the vehicle now back in his control. The crew, still shaken, but all calm, continued on to Cleveland, where they would make an official report of the incident. However, unlike many encounters involving aircraft pilots, military or commercial, Coyne would give his report to the media upon landing. A local Cleveland reporter ran the story the following day. Shortly after, Coyne appeared on the Dick Cavett Show and told of the encounter to a national audience. It is because of his actions that the account is largely seen as credible. It also gave the military no chance to cover up or ridicule the incident. And even had they tried, several people below also witnessed the bizarre events unfold. The video below features the crew of the helicopter talking further.
I'm just working out the G-forces of them to go in that distance, whether it's feasible or not. So they went from 0 to 1,000 feet, so in a matter of seconds. Well, probably closer to 1,500, wasn't it?
Well, 2,000 feet in a matter of seconds, so I think that's sustainable.
2,000 feet, or 2,500 in 2 seconds, wasn't it? So it could be between 2 and 3 seconds, I guess. Calculate. That's a lot of G-forces. 127. Is it feasible that they could survive that? I know a fighter pilot does 10 Gs for a maximum of 4 seconds.
Yeah.
So the thing is, did they feel any G-forces? Because it doesn't actually say there in that paragraph, though.
No, they didn't.
And I was trying to work out miles per hour. So they're going 2,000 feet is almost 1,400 miles per hour. And 73, well, the speed of sound was Mach 1, which is 1,200 miles per hour, right? So it's slightly over Mach 1.
Speed of sound was just over 700 miles an hour, depending on altitude.
Yeah, but a Mach 1 is 1200 miles per hour. So that means they were doing Mach 1 in a couple of seconds with a G-force 127 Gs. I just wonder if that's feasible or not. Well, what's the fast? Did they have Mach 1 73? I think they did, didn't they?
Oh yeah, I'd imagine so.
When was Mach 1 achieved by jets? See, they said they just read it out, so it obviously means they didn't actually feel any G-forces. But that's quite a lot of G-force that they should have got if it was in normal, conventional Earth's gravity, right? Supersonic jet, Mach 1, doesn't say year number. Sound barrier 1299. See there, it's Mach 1, 1300. Kilometers, 800 miles per hour. So it's actually faster than Mach 1 then. It's closer to 1.5 Mach. Jaeger. What year was that though? None of them put in this year number.
Well, the X1 was 1947 or 1948, I think, actually.
Let's try a different search. What year was Mach 1
achieved?
I tried that before. 1968. So it's well within spec there for our current technology then. 1.5 Mach they were doing.
Yeah, hold on a minute. Yeah, but not to drag a helicopter. Helicopter's not capable of doing that on its own, is it?
Not sure. What's the maximum speed of a helicopter? So something strange going on is what I'm trying to point out here, though, to people. Maximum speed, vertical. I'm not sure what vertical.
Yeah, vertical climb.
Lift, maybe.
Vertical climb.
Ultra rope lift. No. Suppose I've got to put helicopter.
Big heavy thing. They're not built to do that.
Yeah, I'm not too sure what speed they can go up. Helicopter maximum speed of 300 kilometers per hour, which is pretty slow, isn't it? But it doesn't talk about vertical lift. How much can a Chinook helicopter lift?
No, that's not good. That's its lifting capacity.
26,000 pounds. Yeah, it's stupid Google. Maximum speed, vertical reset. I suppose because I spelled it wrong. Lift. I think it says.
Let's even. It's one of two things. Yeah, either something else has lifted them to that altitude, or they've become disorientated, and they've put the lever down the wrong way. They've gone into an upwards motion rather than the downwards dive.
No, not in that time frame or that distance. It had to be something external to do that. Well, it looks to me like it's going to be like a couple 100 kilometers per hour up vertically, horizontally, but vertically it's going to be way less than that. Probably 100 miles per hour vertically, probably. But anyway, it's the answers.
You're a big heavy thing.
So it's 1.5 Mach speed, 127 Gs. So it's got to be something abnormal going on there. So we got to the end of that one.
Yeah.
Ground witnesses. It's doing that stupid thing again.
Don't do that.
It's alright though.
The ground witnesses. There were several witnesses on the ground who would corroborate the pilot's accounts. One of them was Jim Carver and his family, who were driving to their rural home just outside of Mansfield. Along with Jim were his 3 siblings and his mother, Emma. It was shortly after 11 p.m. when they noticed a strange red light in the sky above them. It appeared to be getting closer. Emma turned the car onto Route 430. As she did so, both she and her 4 children could now see 2 lights up above. One was red and the other green. As each of them watched the lights in fascination, they noticed the sound of an approaching helicopter. Emma pulled the car to the side of the road, and she and her children stepped out to watch the events above. They could see the huge cigar-shaped object hovering over the helicopter. Suddenly, they witnessed the bright green light shoot out from the underside and bathe not only the entire cockpit in fluorescent green but everything in sight. The woods, the car, everything turned green, was one report from a witness below. As the crew reported, after a few seconds the light went out and the object moved away, casting a brief flash of bright, white light as it did. Incidentally, there was a spike in UFO sightings throughout the United States in October 1973. Several prominent cases reached national headlines. Perhaps most famous was the Pascagoula incident, which featured claims of alien abduction. We will return to this sighting in detail in a future article. The short video below features a news piece looking at the apparent surge of UFO sightings during this time.
So we sort of covered that at the start of the live, so we don't need to go into that.
No, we don't need to go into that, no.
So, new witnesses, okay. So red light's pretty common with UFOs, isn't it? So even if you look at, I know I've brought up Mojo's video before with the alien greying UFO. You could see a lot of red lights that were pulsing and sort of going left to right. So maybe the red light is like some sort of laser sensoring system that it uses. Because it's kind of strange that why they put lights on at UFO if they want to stay hidden, right? There's got to be something that they have to use for control of it. Like if you had autopilot, you would have to you'd have to have some sort of laser ranging system, so you know that so the computer could automatically adjust it. Keep it there all the time, you see.
New witnesses come forward 15 years later in 1988. A new witness came forward with information. Jean Elias from the southeast Mansfield area recalled laying in bed watching the 11 p.m. news when the sound of an extremely low-flying helicopter made her stop watching the television. She was used to low-flying aircraft as their house was only 6 miles from the Mansfield airport runway. However, this aircraft sounded lower than normal and she feared an imminent crash. As she panicked, she hid her head under the pillow on her bed. She could hear her teenage son, John, calling to her from his room next door. The loud rumbling sound had awoken him, and a bright green light filled his entire room from outside. Following an appeal in the Mansfield News Journal in 2015 for witnesses to the Mansfield incident, many people did come forward with new information. One was Brian Stevens, who at the time of the incident was 13 years old. He would recall seeing a red-orange ball that he couldn't take his eye off as he walked along Ohio 39. Another new witness, Glenn Stout, worked at Mansfield Tire. He and several co-workers were on a break at the back dock when a crazy-looking light sped towards a helicopter, nearly crashing. One particularly bizarre detail offered by Stout was his home electric bill for the month following the incident was only $4. He wondered if the surprisingly low bill had a connection to the UFO overhead that evening. Judith Ham was yet another person who witnessed the bizarre events of October 1973. She claimed to have almost screamed out loud as she witnessed what she thought was 2 planes about to crash into each other. Ham believed it was a military plane until reading stories of the encounter afterward.
So there you go. Do you want to say anything to that one?
Yeah, I mean, sure. and it's quite important before we see the debunks on this, that the witnesses down below, well, one of them at least, seen fields, entire fields, and several houses lit up in this green light, which are described as beautiful, but at the same time extremely frightening. So I think that takes out any aircraft light, as far as I'm concerned, anyway.
Wingtip lights are not that powerful, so I'm not sure, unless it was an experimental laser beam, because original laser beams were ruby red, right? And then we got green ones. So yeah, I don't know why they'd use green.
Yeah, laser beam isn't exactly focused on. It doesn't spread out over that kind of area, does it?
Well, red light we use in what do you call it, photo processing labs, because the red spectrum, energy spectrum, doesn't affect what's on the film. So it makes sense to have a red light that's less reactive. Green light, I think, is at the other side of the spectrum, right, where it's more heading towards the ultraviolet side of things, which means it's quite visible. A green light is more visible than a red one is. So yeah, it's kind of strange.
Not anything military. Les Kaiser, who was 13 years old at the time of the sighting, would witness the strange events from his back garden along with his 30-year-old sister. As they were doing chores in the yard, a huge oval-shaped craft came into view over them. There were 2 red lights on the object, which suddenly vanished to be replaced with an intensely bright green light. He could clearly see the helicopter in front of the craft, glowing in the green waves. Kaiser felt immediately it was a UFO. His sister, however, would state to him that it's probably military. Don't say anything to anyone about it. He would tell the Mansfield News Journal in 2015, "I know what I saw, and it wasn't anything military." His sister's warning, however, wasn't entirely lost on Les. He wouldn't talk about it until the appeal for witnesses through the newspaper. He would state that the experience was so strong for me that I never lost it in my mind. Just what was seen that evening in the skies over Mansfield, Ohio, may never be known. While it isn't beyond the realm of possibility that the military has more information on the case, the fact that Coyne bypassed potential censor-heavy channels by speaking directly with the media suggests the incident is mostly intact. Whether or not there was clandestine military involvement somewhere in the timeline of the episode is open to debate, as is the question of whether the incident is part of the apparent wave of sightings in October 1973. If there was a surge of activity at this time, what was the reason? The video below looks at the incident a little further.
So, what video are we talking about here?
Yeah.
Witness file. Looks like it's on a TV thing, that one.
I always presume that we can't play these things, Paul, so although I do listen to them.
Yeah, let's just check. It might be something from the newspaper or something. It's 4.3, so it's pretty old, whatever it is.
Yeah, I'm not. Okay.
Looks black and white. Oh, there you go. The deadly unexplained mysteries. So we can't use it, which is a shame. They miss out on free advertising because they're greedy. Alright, we got to the end of it anyway, so we got something else to go.
Yeah.
Unsolved mysteries, unexplained, but you can't use them without getting copyright claim. Which is a shame, because they get free advertising from it, so more people would go and dig out the series rights. Why is it not going? I think we've done that one. I think you posted the same one twice, have you?
And you got the right link, Paul.
Yeah, look, it's the same one, not same company, same website. I mean, UFO Insight. UFO Insights. You give me two links the same. It's one we just closed. I think you didn't copy it to your thing properly.
There we go.
You might have to delete the old one. Oh, it doesn't matter, I suppose.
No.
ParaBunk. Oh, that sounds like MetaBunk almost.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to read out what the debunkers are saying, are we? Okay. Executive summary. That sounds really scary.
Yeah, well, this is worth a little recap anyway.
Okay.
The 1973 Coyne Mansfield helicopter UFO incident finally explained April 2, 2018. The 1973 Coyne incident, also known as Mansfield Encounter, has been described as one of the best UFO cases of all time for the past 45 years. While parts of it have already found more mundane explanations, there hasn't been an adequate explanation that would fully describe the events as reported by the eyewitnesses, both on the helicopter and on the ground. Until now. Executive summary. The following is a brief overview of the events. A more comprehensive version of the original story can be read here. The version on the left reflects the eyewitness testimonies and how this story is typically told. The version on the right explains briefly what actually happened, all of which is dealt with in more detail later in this document. The following events took place on October 18, 1973, at approximately 11 p.m. when an Army Reserve helicopter with a crew of 4, namely Coyne, Jesse, Healy and Yanax, were flying from Columbus to Cleveland, cruising at 90 knots at 2,500 feet, close to the midpoint of their trip near Mansfield, Ohio.
Yeah, so we're going to do comparisons, I suppose. Original story.
I was a bit concerned that you could highlight the text there without...
The original story, Healy saw a single red light on to the west, heading south, which seemed brighter than a typical left-side navigation light of a plane.
Left side, yeah, we've already figured that out. What actually was...
No, Paul, read the left side before you start reading bit to the right side.
I thought we got it broken up into paragraphs.
Jesus Christ, what are you doing? The original story first.
No, this one here is the paragraph, and that's what actually happened the same.
Yeah, the original story is on the left. What actually happened is the debunker's version on the right.
I thought each of these paragraphs is what actually happened, and that's what actually did happen.
Jesus, Paul, man.
Well, I thought that's how it was broken up. I thought that paragraph was this paragraph, that paragraph, that paragraph. But if you reckon it's not... I'll read out the left only.
Yeah.
That's what you want.
It wasn't relevant traffic, so he didn't mention it, but after an estimated 3-4 minutes Yanax saw it on the other side of the plane, now traveling north. It appeared to be pacing the helicopter. After a minute, he reported about it to Coyne, and after further 30 seconds he announced it closing on their helicopter. The red light seemed to become brighter and to be on a collision course, coming from the right, with estimated speed of over 600 knots. Coyne began to descend to avoid a collision, which increased his airspeed from their 90-knot cruising speed to 100 knots. Instead of colliding, the light began to hover above the helicopter for a brief while, and the crew saw a big cigar-shaped grey metallic object, which had a red light at its nose and green at the back. Ground witnesses similarly saw a red light being followed by a green one, coming from the east, and eventually hovering on top of the helicopter. Coyne drew a picture of it that showed a dome on top of a cigar-shaped flying saucer type of thing. Suddenly a powerful green light began to swung up over the helicopter nose, through the windshield, then through the green-tinted upper window panels, bathing the cockpit in green light. Ground witnesses also reported how the light painted the helicopter and ground below in green. After some seconds, the light turned off and the object began accelerating to the west, showing only a white tail light. Most of them estimated it gained a speed of several hundred knots and watched how it took a 45-degree turn right close to Mansfield as it was disappearing to the horizon. The helicopter crew hadn't followed their altimeter for several minutes, being in a state of panic and concentrating on the events around them. Then they noticed their altimeter showed they had climbed from their last known altitude of 1,700 feet to 3,500 feet with a rate of 1,000 feet mean. They believed the object had pulled them up. Coyne tried to descend, but the helicopter still kept descending for another 300 feet, after which they felt a bump and apparent turbulence. As the turbulence began to ease, they finally managed to lower the helicopter back to its normal 2,500 feet cruising altitude. Later the frightened crew reported the incident and gave interviews, leading to one of the best, most credible and mind-boggling UFO cases in history.
So we also got a white light there as it heads away, which, again, you get white lights on tail fins of planes. But yeah, it's not common to get reports of a cigar object with a dome on top. Now that's pretty abnormal, but it doesn't sound like a plane if they saw a dome on top of a plane. So yeah, that's sort of, could it be mimicking the plane lights? It's possible, I suppose. Kind of strange, but what they're saying is actually what happens. So let's find out.
Yep. Well, hold on before we start that.
Right.
It's left an awful lot of stuff out.
Right.
Like everything. The guy has not got. He's not got in touch with the pilots.
No.
He's not got in touch with the witnesses.
No.
Leaving out an awful lot of stuff. It's a very nice little summary of the event that kind of tells you that everything is airplane. Yeah, and there we go. Here's his debunk coming up. What actually happened?
Yeah, it's like debunkers like to forget about eyewitness accounts, isn't it?
No.
What actually happened? Healy saw the left side navigation light of an aerial refueling aircraft that was going south. The plane began a 180+ degree turn to the left, which took it to the other side of the helicopter in a couple of minutes. It began adjusting its direction, speed and altitude for the expected refueling of the helicopter. The plane flew almost as slow as the helicopter, almost to the same direction, descending closer to refueling position. Anxious and lacking visual reference points, the crew misjudged the trajectory and speed of the plane. The helicopter seemed to begin descending according to usual refueling protocols for increasing and hence better matching the speed of the tanker plane with a minimum refueling speed of 100 knots. One can't hover over a helicopter that is flying at 100 knots. The tanker reached the refueling position and matched the speed of the helicopter on top and somewhat in front of it. Since the witnesses mistook the relative sideways movement as the real one, they thought the left navigation light was in the front and right on the back, and saw the wings as the fuselage and possibly the actual fuselage or some other part as a dome from that upwards angle. The anti-collision lights were off. The tanker crew noticed something is not right, such as the helicopter missing the necessary refueling probe, or didn't behave as it should at that stage. They turned on their white searchlight to see what's underneath, painting the insides of the helicopter green due to its green-tinted plexiglass panels above the pilots. Ground witnesses saw the green insides and light against the green forest background, getting an impression of a green light, whose actual source was behind the helicopter. Realizing their mistake, the tanker crew turned off the searchlight, left with the actual tail light or a refueling pod light on, and began to increase their speed and altitude. They began to turn somewhat towards the west, but were actually still flying mostly towards the north, which the helicopter crew once again misjudged due to their relative movement, change of altitude, and the parallax effect. The tanker plane caused wingtip vortices behind it, but initially the helicopter was close and low enough not to be affected. While it moved towards the left and further away, those reached the helicopter, causing upwards airflow. Coyne might have also touched the controls in his state of confusion, so that the resulting climb could be a combination of both of those reasons. Eventually they hit turbulent air, as they didn't understand the situation and didn't know there are vortices to avoid. After almost 45 years, so ends the story where the aliens were the ones expecting the other party to have a probe.
Okay, so there is a kind of a dome on the fuel-in plane here.
Yeah, sure.
But
notice the side.
But which the green light's on this side, on the right side, and the left red light's on this side. So it's moving away from. Like I said, it had to be if it was going to be a plane, it would have to be moving away from them. So that's why he's fitting it to the left and right, this direction, and the tail fin, of course. But yeah.
Yeah, but did Coyne actually say anything about his plane being refueled at the time?
None of the witnesses saw a refueling thing. And how would they get from 1,700 feet to 3,500 feet? Surely that would be recorded on some sort of instrument inside the helicopter to verify those claims, though, right?
Yes.
So where's that data gone? That's my question there. So yeah, although I could see similarities in how it could sort of fit the story, it doesn't fit the whole story, does it? So it sort of partially fits. So a nice try, but not perfect. So what else we got to it? Is that it?
Well, go to the bottom there, and you'll actually see that Kevin Brandle. There's go to the comments on it.
Oh, this one here.
No, go yeah, I think so. Yeah, Kevin D. Brandle. Yeah.
In the end, this is a case that screams to be labelled as unidentified because there is no valid explanation for it. There's no easy solution here, and sometimes that is about all that can be said about a case.
The Coyne is the definition of identified. Of all the cases examined in this chapter, the Coyne case is the best. The witnesses were well trained. They had an opportunity for detailed observation, and there were other witnesses to the event. There simply is not terrestrial explanation for this case. What's the dress say?
Oh, he's got a web link, I think. Is it? 100 years of government secrets.
I've got all this stuff.
These are separate comments.
If you keep scrolling down.
As Hynek established a national-wide UFO reporting system for UFOS, or whatever it's called, a young organisation got its first reporting case. So it's this one. A military helicopter really nearly crashed after a close call with a cigar-shaped object. Become the gold standard for UFO cases. So, close encounter. Doesn't say anything there. A full explanation of this terrifying UFO close encounter has never been offered. And to this day, the helicopter UFO incident remains one of the most credible and terrifying in the history of the subject. Of course, then we got that crazy one that Tom DeLonge said a laser beam hit the fins and it looks like a bird strike. Yeah, I don't know. there must be some data that can verify that radar data, black box data of the instruments inside the cockpit. I suppose the government's probably hidden that, right?
Okay.
I don't know.
Major Tom, to Planet Earth.
Major Tom, we got another link.
Okay, no. If you did what I asked you to do a couple of minutes ago, if you can keep scrolling down to where we see the comments.
Yeah. That's where I was.
Yeah. Can you please keep going to the bottom, please?
To the bottom.
Can you keep going?
What's that? The flight path? Yeah. Flight paths. Ground view. Navigation lights, which we've been over. Tool and anti-collision lights. That's quite a long page. You want to go right down to the bottom. Vortexes. Vortex surfing. Sort of goes into a detail here in the comments, doesn't it? Turbulence. Noise.
Well, no, this is all ParaBunk stuff, isn't it?
There's a picture of the helicopter.
Trying to find who exactly ParaBunk was, and I was wasting my time. Because he doesn't have a name. He's a man with no name. So who is he? I can only come to the conclusion he's from the intelligence community.
So we're down to the comments.
Thank you, Paul.
Through 100 pages to get to it. Kevin Randall again. So you want us to read out that?
Sure. Now don't forget.
Yeah.
Ken Randall was the most skeptical of ufologists and also a pilot, helicopter pilot.
Was he?
Yes, he was.
I know he had a army uniform or something, a RAF uniform on, with the camouflage on it. In the pictures.
Look, that card that's easy to find.
Crandall, April 28, 2018 at 3:37 p.m. Did you talk to any Army helicopter pilots who would have been trained at the same time as Coyne? Are your assumptions about the operations inside the cockpit based on interviews with Army pilots, or are they based on speculations? I would be delighted to provide some insight about helicopters, especially the one if that would help.
You're sort of breaking up there a bit, Robert. Can you just disconnect and rejoining? I think that normally fixes it up. Okay. This is the picture I remember, this one here, with the camouflage on. So that's who we're talking about. That's his current look. So, have we got a profile here? Are you back with us?
I am.
Okay, I think that sounds better.
Okay.
Maybe not. Are you there?
Yeah.
You're low, quiet again. Move closer to the laptop lid and say hello. Robert?
Oh.
Okay, I think we might have you back. We'll just have to keep an eye on it. Yeah. So Kevin Randall qualifications or bio?
Military service. Called right at the top.
Career. Military service. Military veteran, Vietnam War, Second Gulf War, UH-1 helicopters. There you go.
Yeah. So exactly the same type of helicopter that guy was flying.
Yeah. Right. And we got the guy replying to him.
We have.
What exactly would I need to ask them that isn't already answered by a pilot, Jesse, who was in that very helicopter when that happened, as quoted above? I wasn't aware of the climb at all, and 1000 FPM, it could have been less. It was not that much of a climb, that steep, that much acceleration. But the climbing is something that occurs somewhat easily in a helicopter if you're not paying attention. If you're flying the aircraft and thinking of something else. We were talking rapidly about what was happening. You get excited and you just go like this, demonstrates by raising left arm, and you're climbing. And going from 1,500 to 3,000 feet in 2 or 3 minutes is not going to be extraordinary. There are thermals that are so bad that you put your collective down and you're still climbing. I've had it happen to me.
Hang on, wasn't it 2 seconds? He's saying 2 minutes there.
Yeah, I know. 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah, that changes the thing quite a lot.
It does, yeah.
G-forces, that would be like normal G-forces. But we're talking about 127 Gs here. So what did Randall say to that again? Because we're looking up stuff.
I think maybe he's deleted what Kevin Randall said from this point on, because I have an link.
Because there's no information in that paragraph from him. It's kind of useless.
Sure. Yeah, but I've got another link.
Okay.
And I've tried hard to find out who this guy is behind ParaBunk, and I found absolutely no answer. I tried for several hours of it, 3 or 4 days, Paul.
Yeah, so he's changed the facts here.
I came to nothing, and so did Mr. Randall as well. There you go, there's the next link.
Yeah, he's talking 2 minutes here, not 2 seconds. So that changes the things drastically, and
Of course it does.
becomes misleading.
It's called cherry picking information, isn't it?
Yeah, to fit an agenda. So onto Randall's site. What's the font?
This is particularly about.
One small there. Hang on.
Take note as well, that this ParaBunk, whoever he is behind it, didn't write his article until 2018, and he, in his own words, he knocked the debunk out in 1 day.
Right.
Now that's not a lot of research, is it?
No.
1 day to knock something out.
Well, we've probably done more during the live stream with the calculations.
Yeah, you got it.
I'll read out that chunk anyway.
Yes, go from the top. It's not long, you know.
The Coyne helicopter encounter explained. For the last several days I have been engaged in a conversation with someone who identifies himself as ParaBunk. He analyzed the Coyne helicopter encounter and provided what he believed to be a terrestrial solution for the case. You can read his long report here, https parabunk.blogspot.com 2018-04-1973-Coyne Mansfield-helicopter-UFO.html. You can read my original post which inspired his, well, maybe not inspired to write his report, but certainly inspired to mention it on this blog, and read our discussion in the comments section here, http kevinrandall.blogspot.com 2014-08-Coyne-helicopter-UFO-case.html. By looking at both these articles, I think you'll get a fairly accurate picture of both his theory and my comments on it. I thought his theory interesting and certainly does cover most of the information about the case, though he seems to lean heavily on interviews conducted with First Lieutenant Arago Jesse and seems to reject those made by Captain Lawrence J. Coyne, who was both the senior officer present and the pilot in command of the aircraft. The point here, however, is something a little different. While I believe that I came into this as an almost neutral observer, ready to examine the facts, I also realize that my thinking might be colored by my personal experiences. On the other hand, I think ParaBunk might suffer from the same sort of narrowed vision. To that end, I thought having the readers here take a look at both arguments and append their comments to this post, we might move the discussion forward. I believe that a good mix of skeptics and believers visit here on a regular basis so that we might see some interesting comments. I think we can keep it cordial, and I will delete anything that doesn't fit into that ideal, which it should be, and maybe provide some interesting insights into the case and possible avenues for further research. One of the first places to start would be the disposition form, dated the 23rd of November 1973, because it provides the names of organizations that might have follow-up documents that could shed some light on the subject. It also mentions a near-mid-air collision which seemed to require an investigation by the FAR, even if it was with a UFO. And, because it was created just a few weeks after the event, we have something that isn't overly influenced by all the discussion of so many over the last 40-some years.
Yes, I was trying to hunt.
Yeah, exactly. You won't find him.
He's all over the place, though.
You won't find his name.
He's on Twitter. He's on Reddit.
I'm glad you looked at this, because he's not just debunking this one particular thing. You know, that wasn't just his little show. He's trying to debunk every damn thing that's related to UFOs. So who is he?
ParaBunk.
I can only presume he comes from the intelligence community, and that's not being paranoid whatsoever. I can't see any other. If he's trying to make a name for himself, well, you know, do it like Mick West and all the others.
Yeah. Has he got his own website? Because then you can look up the who.
No, he doesn't.
He's on a blog site here, blogspot.com.
Yeah, exactly, Blogspot. I tried for days to track him down, Paul.
Track him down. Yeah. So if he had his own,
all kinds of different search engines, and no result at all. That Randall just said that they're the guy who hides behind ParaBunk.
I'm not sure what else we can try. But he's certainly active even today. He's active. Yeah. He's on Gimbal and TikTok.
Maybe let's have a look at his debunk on the TikTok then.
Paracast. I've got a link here too. Randall's response at the ParaBunk site, in my opinion. So what's this one here talking about? Let's bring that up. Oh yeah, it's talking about this case. About the helicopter. Right, we've got I copied and pasted his comment here from his own blog.
Yeah, maybe you should try one of his other bunks just to see if we can get some grasp on him, you know?
Yeah. Now, did we need to read out any more of this? I think we got to the end, didn't we?
No.
ParaBunk said... So he's talking about class, but Phil Class.
Oh yeah, I mean Philip Class put the whole thing down to a meteor.
But it's a bit strange you can't find out who the persons are.
Well, yeah, it's shady, isn't it?
Yeah. They should come forward if they want to be credible.
Yeah.
We don't.
Agreed, Paul.
We don't hide.
No.
Did you check all the comments in case someone says I know who that is?
I did. Oh my god, I spent hours, mate.
So it goes on
over several days. And no doubt Randall's done plenty of research himself, as he would. And yeah, he's come up with nothing either. So I was wasting my time.
Well,
But he did actually come across something there, Paul ParaBunk, on the TikTok. Let's see what he has to say about that. I know we're going off on a tangent now, but so what? It's interesting.
I just closed it down though, but yeah.
Okay, let me have a look then. One here.
Bunk. Oh no. I don't know. A tale of two programs. ParaBunk. He's definitely quite current.
Yes.
And he's on
He's got a
Reddit. On Reddit. And can you find out the name on the profile there? Let's see. Where's he posting? There he is. Does that tell us his name? Here we go. What's it say down there? Karma. Yeah, just lists his blog site, no name.
Yeah, he always kind of says that. Close Encounters of the
rational kind.
Of the rational kind, yeah. He always says that.
So he's hidden there.
It seems he hasn't actually come on the scene since all this stuff has come out with TTSA, you know. That's my feeling so far.
So, what's the oldest post we got? 2018, isn't it?
Yeah. And then you have to look.
We can find out. We can just do
at the videos that came out. They came out in December 2017, didn't they?
Okay,
TTSA.
we can actually go through the years and see if any of his posts come up. So 2000.
Okay. I just need to go to the bathroom. And
2000
back
to
now.
2011.
Good work.
Okay, so I'll just get rid of that there. I thought I changed the range. Oh, why have we got 2018 appearing? This is how useless Google is. It should only be bringing up ones that match. Here we go. So we might be able to find them this way here. ParaBunk. So it could be South American. Bunk bed, what's that got to do with it? Bunk room, ParaBunk, 1994. Again, that looks like Spanish, 2006. ParaBunk beds. There's not too many listings here. Might be a way to find them eventually. Where he slips up. We can out you. The web never forgets though. Looks like it's a strange PDF. Why is it not showing it?
Okay, what you found now?
Found a reference to ParaBunk, but not one word, in 1994. I don't know if it's talking about him, but it's all in Spanish. And it looks like it's a huge PDF here. So I'm not sure what it's about. Looks like, what's that up there? Government agency? CEDEFOP? Isn't it that organization in South America that studies UFOs?
I don't know, mate. It sounds Spanish, or it's a South American, yeah.
What's that place down there? Peru?
Oh, yeah.
Well, ParaBunk did come up in this article. He could be South American. He's got good English if he is, though.
Yeah,
where's the
exactly,
search thing here? Oh, here we go. ParaBunk. It's not going to find it now, is it? Guess who we got on? We got Vian on the side.
Yeah, hold on a minute. That's not even one word, Paul. I'm not really sure we can go with that, you know.
I know. I'm just wondering why it come up in the Google search, though. Can't seem to find any references there.
All right, look. Best thing we can do from here, yeah, is go to his blog spot and let's have a look at what he says about Tic Tac.
Right.
ParaBunk Tic Tac UFO. Please do that now, Paul.
I'm not sure what they mean by ParaBunk here.
Let's have a look at his insight.
Yeah, just hang on. Be more patient. ParaBunk is 2 words in 1994 anyway. Let's try 2019. And his blog comes up. So it looks like he's only showing up with the one word in 2018. Because that's what I've just done. I searched 2018. He's pretty new, whoever he is.
Yeah. Which is my whole hint at the first place. He's come on the scene.
So Tic Tac. So what's this one about Tic Tac? Go Fast Audio. Is this what you want to look at here?
Sure.
I don't know.
Let's see the credibility of his work.
Well, I can't see his name posted.
He hasn't got a name, has he? It's just ParaBunk.
No, I can't see ParaBunk listed there. I suppose you got to search Reddit on it.
Paul, I've obviously found it, mate. Yeah, I'll just
You found what?
Down here.
On his blog site, you mean?
So look at that, okay?
What's that scratching noise going on there?
Oh, it's the wire.
The what? Sounds
It's
like
just the wire I'm rubbing against.
On the mic. Well, stop it. It sounds horrible.
Okay.
It sounds really
Should be
horrible.
okay
Yeah.
Should be okay now. No,
So what do you
not.
want to read on here?
We'll just take a look at the site and see what they're about.
Wow. Looks like he's just posted it.
No, 22nd of April 2018, yeah? So he's done it, 4 months after those videos were released? Hasn't taken him long.
Quality of the video he's talking about. That's kind of strange though, because Mick West went on. You still got the scratching noise going on.
Yeah, alright, I'm trying to get rid of that fast, Paul. Okay, that should do it now.
No, I still hear it. What the hell?
Alright, pal. Heck. Okay.
Stop it, it sounds horrible. Sounds like someone rapping their nails down the chalkboard. Still there. Something going on here. You sure it's not some men in black interfering with our audio again?
No, that should definitely do it.
Oh, that's way better. So the quality of the video, Mick West went on about that they hadn't given us the best quality. He's talking about the path of the jet, altitude and distance. Could it be another alias for Mick West? I don't know. Why would he create another invisible thing?
Well, I don't think he'd do that.
Well, it's just funny. It's funny because it's similar type name: ParaBunk, MetaBunk. Unless it's that Dunnan guy, because they're good mates, right? So it's got to be someone that probably knows Mick West, right? Decided to create another account just to tackle UFO stuff, maybe.
Well, see, the fact that he's staying in the background kind of alerts me to the fact that he could be in, I don't know, intelligence of some kind. So I'm fairly sure in TTSA and all this thing, there's been some internal wars here. I mean, if you looked at the stuff recently now, the DOD have taken back some of what they've said, about, various things.
So, who we got here?
They're still admitting the videos were actually UAPs, but they're now saying that ATIP and OSAP were nothing to do with UFOs whatsoever, when they originally said only a few months ago that they were. So God knows, and they're blaming that all on an ex-employee.
So they're talking about Bruce Maccabee here, and I think I noticed that calculation he posted on Open Minds when we once were members of it until we got banned. Where has he put the latest analysis? I only have seen one he's withdrew. I've already shown here how he is not really up to the task of analysing such videos.
Yeah, he's a bit nasty, isn't he?
I could do that again if you get the source. Ron, he seems a familiar name. Right, I'm pretty sure he was on Open Minds. Not for nothing, but Bruce Maccabee has too many bungled conclusions to take him seriously. Eh? He, for one, thought the Guardian case was real. Not sure what the Guardian one is. He also thought a picture of a LED light from a computer mouse in the dark was a UFO in the night sky. Same with Paul Trent's photo and Ed Walters. So there's 4 cases right there that were frauds, fakes and hoaxes that he thinks are real. Ed Waters is still not conclusive, and Paul Trent's, I think, was a model on... Well, it wasn't a model, it was actually a truck mirror, they said, hanging on fishing wire.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the fence about the Trent ones, but it's easy to pick on known hoaxes and then put them out and then use that to debunk a perfectly good case.
But I don't know what these ones, the Guardian cases, we'll probably have to look that up. And the LED light one, I'm not sure about either, what he's talking about there. But the Paul Trent one, where they got the truck mirror and did a side-by-side comparison, it did look like the truck mirror. But apart from that, I would say all Bruce's stuff is incorrect, for sure. Everybody makes mistakes. But,
absolutely.
Yeah, they're sort of trashing him there, because he's done a few things. Now, what's Vern Vision up to? Have you got the solution? Who is ParaBunk? Okay, what's it? Pato even sent the debit card, or it was lost in the mail. I never got the money you sent me. Giving me the run around, that's really BS, but maybe you can do something for your site. I'm not sure what I can do with PayPal. Just ask for another card again. Para means 4. figured out how to use Hangouts and OBS. Oh, that's all easy stuff now. But I wouldn't use OBS. I still, Minicam is a lot better interface. Especially the latest version, they sorted out all the little bugs. It's quite nice now. Finally caught you on Mr. Out There Who. There was Cubid here before as well, somewhere up the top. So nothing about the UFO case anyway.
That's what we really want down the side chat, by the way.
Yeah. So what's this one here? Right. Means propulsion. He's comparing the thermal. I don't know. This it's hard to know from those crappy videos what it is really. People saying it's plain. It's a bit sketchy, really. Still, in my book, there's not enough information to go on. And really, a debunker is meant to follow the facts and not sort of. There's not enough facts here with the gimbal and the tic-tac to be able to say, yeah, it's definitely a plain thermal signature.
No, it's still in the open, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's still there to say.
Yeah, so let's assume that it's the skin of a craft that's heated. Because why, I don't know. So there's too many questions, not enough answers. For the start, we haven't got the radar data, and that's really what we would need for that case to really prove it one way or another. So, where did you want to go from this case here? Because we're sort of coming up to 2.5 hours.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
I suppose we're going to have to forget about who ParaBunk is, unless I stumble across it one day and I'll bring it back up. But that's the first time.
I'll ask you a few questions on the groups, and we'll see what happens. Anyway, here's Kevin Randall's final words.
Whereabouts?
On the Coyne case. I'll just give me 2 seconds, Paul.
Okay.
Go.
What's she saying? Who? Well, maybe someone's intercepting your post there then. Lucky X. Getting your mail redirected. I had that problem once. Where someone can actually get your mail redirected and then they send it back to you or put it in your post box and you don't know it's being redirected. Someone's probably got the card from your letterbox that way. Because I found out anyone can say that you're going away for holiday and you put a redirect thing in for holidays and your mail goes to a different thing. I thought we just looked at that one though, didn't we? Or was that a different page?
It's a different page.
Okay, so you want me just to read it out from the start?
Well, I can do it. I can put the reader on it.
Oh no, we'll just do the reader.
Yeah.
But this is quite a long one though.
It doesn't matter. It's a good case. It doesn't go all the way down.
It's quite long though.
There you go. It's not long.
Oh, come on, it's long.
No, it's not.
We can always stop it.
Like 5 minutes.
The Coyne helicopter UFO case. I have been working on a new book, and so I have been reviewing some interesting older cases. One of those is the Coyne case, in which the flight crew of an Army Reserve 1H helicopter spotted a UFO which might have caused a radio outage and then a sudden, mysterious climb when Captain Lawrence Coyne had entered a descent to avoid a collision. Briefly, they were returning to their home station in Cleveland, Ohio, when Sergeant John Healy, seated in the left rear, spotted an object or a red light off the left side of the aircraft. He thought it was brighter than the red navigation lights on an aircraft, and he could see none of the other aircraft lights required by the FAR. This light disappeared behind the helicopter, and Healy thought nothing more about it. A few moments later, Specialist 5E5 Robert Yanaksk, seated in the right rear, saw a red light on the eastern horizon. He, at first, thought it was a red warning light on a radio tower, but the light wasn't blinking, and it seemed to be pacing the aircraft. Finally, it seemed to turn so that it was coming toward the helicopter, and when it did, he mentioned it to the pilot. Coyne glanced out the right window and also believed the light was coming at them. Coyne took the controls of the aircraft and, believing the object might be on a collision course, pushed down the collective, or technically, the collective pitch, that is a lever on the left side of the seat of the pilot or co-pilot, which changes the pitch of the rotor blades so that the aircraft will gain or lose altitude. He eventually pushed it all the way down to the stop. Believing that he was not descending fast enough, he pushed the cyclic, think of the yoke on an airplane, forward so that he would be descending faster. At this point Coyne looked up and said the object was covering the front of the windshield. Coyne said that there was a red light at the front of the object, a green light that seemed to reflect off the rear of the object, and a green light, like a searchlight coming from the rear. The object hovered there for what seemed like a long time, and then took off toward the northwest. They could see the light at the rear of the aircraft was bright white. Coyne looked at the altimeter and realized they were at 3,500 feet. Coyne said the collective was still full down and he couldn't explain the ascent. Coyne then pulled up on the collective, which, of course, the opposite of what he should have done to stop an ascent, but then the collective was full down so he couldn't have pushed it any lower anyway, and at 3,800 feet, they felt a bump and the climb ceased. Philip Klass, when he heard about the case, decided to take a look at it. He was on a television show with Healy, and he recorded another show that aired the next night that featured Coyne. Klass, in his book UFOs Explained, wrote, "As I studied the transcript of my tape recording of Coyne on the Dick Cavett show, my attention began to focus on the possibility that the UFO might have been a bright meteor fireball. He then spends a great deal of time reporting on his search for a record of a meteor at the time and place in question that failed. True, not every meteor is reported, but this one would have been spectacular enough that someone else should have seen it. No one did and no reports were filed. But that's okay, because Klass is hung up on the meteor explanation and cited examples of many people being fooled by fireballs, miscalculating the distance to them, their altitude, their shape and the length of time they are visible, and some other UFO cases that were explained by fireballs, which is all irrelevant here. Klass mentions nothing of Healy's sighting of the red object that was seen out the left side of the aircraft and that slid to the rear. If it was the same object, then clearly it wasn't a meteor, and Klass's explanation fails at that point. He mentions that the cockpit was bathed in green light as the object passed overhead and reports that there are two plexiglass panels set above the pilots' heads and these are tinted green. We called them, cleverly, the greenhouses, but they are directly over the pilots and are not part of the windshield. Klass seems to have confused these green-tinted areas for something on the windshield, much as cars used to have a green tint at the top of the windshield. The crew was not looking through the greenhouses and the light was not coming through them. Besides, the crew described other colored lights on the object which they were watching through the windshield. Klass admits that the climb is the real puzzler. He discussed it with Dave Brown, an experienced pilot with some hours in a helicopter, which tells me nothing, and I wonder if those hours are as a pilot, and if there are very many of them. Brown suggested that perhaps the pilot or co-pilot might unconsciously have pulled back on the collective and or cyclic pitch control S as he leaned back in his seat to view the luminous object overhead. Well, the co-pilot, Lieutenant Arago Jesse, would never have done that. How do I know? Because Coyne, Jesse and I had all gone through the same flight training, though not at the same time. Had Jesse felt the aircraft was in danger and he needed to take over the controls, he would have put his hands on them and said, "I've got it." Coyne would have relinquished control, taking his hands off, and said, "You've got it." This was done so that the pilots wouldn't be fighting each other for control. In similar circumstances, meaning one of us in the cockpit saw something the other didn't that might endanger the aircraft, this is what we did, and that includes combat assaults under fire, which can easily be as stressful as seeing a UFO. We follow the ritual even at times like that, so we know that Jesse didn't take over control. Could leaning back in the seat, Trying to see the UFO above have caused Coyne to pull up on the collective as opposed to have pulled back as Class suggests. Not really given the way the controls are configured. Could he have pulled back on the cyclic in such a circumstance? Maybe, but there would have been other consequences to that action, including a slowing of the airspeed and a change in the orientation of the cockpit. Or, in other words, that would have been noticed. Besides, given the circumstances, it is more likely that Coyne would have pushed the cyclic forward as he attempted to see the object, which would have increased the rate of descent. Class continues his speculation about all of this, based on the information he has collected, some of which he fails to report, and he concludes, "We should all be grateful for the instinctive, if unconscious, reactions of pilot Coyne or co-pilot Jesse in pulling their helicopter out of its steep descent barely 400 feet above the ground." So Class has solved the case by creating a meteor where none was reported, ignoring the flight of the light when it doesn't conform to his ideas, misunderstanding the configuration of the cockpit controls that doesn't fit his belief, and his failure to understand the flight procedures of Army helicopter pilots. His analysis is badly flawed and his speculations are not driven by facts. Oh, and he does mention the report from someone on the ground who might have seen the UFO, but he never found him, and for our purposes as well as those of Class, that witness does not exist. There are 2 other witnesses who saw the UFO from the ground, and they have provided statements about what they saw, corroborating, after a fashion, the sighting by Coyne and his crew. In the end, this is a case that screams to be labeled as unidentified because there is no valid explanation for it. Class was simply wrong in his analysis, and his speculations should be ignored because of his manipulation of the evidence and his lack of understanding of the flight characteristics of the helicopter. There is no easy solution here, and sometimes that is about all that can be said about a case.
What month was that? October, wasn't it?
Yes, I mean, most of those cases happened in the latter end of 1973. So, apart from the Piedmont ones, of course.
So there was in Colorado there. So,
Colorado. Right. Okay.
Meteorite News.
Well, come on, we know that the Philip J. Class was a dick of astronomical proportions. You know, I don't know what to say about him, rather than, you know, resorting to coloured language.
Yeah. Well, no meteorite showers. Here we go. Have a look at that one.
It just doesn't make sense, does it?
It's in a book. So what's it saying here? So it's Pisces Austrinids. So they name it after various meteorite showers. Looks like there was 63 there. 1992. I know we do get meteorite showers every year, certain months. Thought that was what we're going to get, but it looks like we've got a book talking about actual ones observed. Meteor showers for October 1973. So that's what I thought. So the piece, how do you say that one? Perside meteorite showers. They happen every year.
You can have a look at that link. I've left you there if you want.
Yeah. South Africa. Just talking about there. Just off 1973.
Yeah. There's the Leonids meteor shower 1973, 17th of November. Peak on Saturday, 17th of November.
Yeah.
Maybe that could easily have accounted for some of the sightings.
Yeah.
Maybe worth taking a look at that.
Yeah. I probably should bookmark that one because we often go back to it. Maybe I have bookmarked it. I've got a lot of things bookmarked for tools, for lookups. Forbidden, it's saying. I'm not allowed to, because I'm going through a VPN box. I got the right link. Forbidden. Because they want to spy on us. So if you can't spy on us, you're not allowed access. Where'd you get that site from? Well, we don't want to go to it then.
We've got it through Google.
So you want to wrap up on the Bigfoot stories now? We've got 20 minutes here. Oh shit. Well, we can finish soon anyway. 10 to 3 hours. 2 hours 15 minutes we're done, and yeah, look, it's 4 AM in the morning here. So we can do the Bigfoot one if you want.
Yeah, sure. I'll post it again, okay?
I'm starting to yawn. It's not a good sign.
I think you have been throughout.
Have I?
Yeah, but it's late for you, Paul. It's understandable.
I don't remember yawning, but having trouble breathing. Sinuses are gone. Got a dry mouth, and I've run out of fluid here. As usual.
It's humidity there as well, isn't there?
It's
the complete opposite here.
I've got the fan going, and it feels like 26 degrees Celsius here at the moment.
Afraid to go outdoors here. Jane's going sideways.
Oh, you could sleep outside quite easily, I think, but you get bitten by all the bugs.
Okay.
Yeah, we get these little flies that bite you, like sandflies. The Bigfoot connection. Yeah, of course, we got that guy. What's his name? Moneymaker. Doesn't like Bigfoot's being linked to aliens or UFOs.
Oh, David Paulides.
No. Moneymaker. What's his first name? I can't remember.
Moneymaker.
Yeah, the guy that heads the Finding Bigfoot series.
Okay.
The head of BFOR or something.
They do get quite nasty when you link them to UFOs and paranormal. I'm absolutely convinced they're cryptoid, that it's out there, that both of them are dead, and I'm not going to say no. I'm not going to say yes.
Oh, right. His name is Matt Moneymaker. If you watch Finding Bigfoot series on TV, that got cancelled because I didn't find Bigfoot. After how many seasons? 10 seasons? They were calling out. But how do you know it's not another Bigfoot team that's calling back? Because if they know that the Finding Bigfoot team's going into the area, you can see local teams going out there and playing pranks on them, anyway.
Even though sightings of both Bigfoot and UFOs occurring at the same times and places are not uncommonly reported by eyewitnesses, the concurrence of such events is generally dismissed as coincidental, and any possible substantial connection between the two phenomena is not considered a matter of serious inquiry. Both camps of researchers, understandably so, do not want their respective studies to be reduced to speculations based on mere belief. Advocates of both mysteries seem to think the evidence for the reality of the other's subject matter is flimsy to non-existent, thus the reluctance to entertain a connection to each other. Maybe the problem in making the connection between Bigfoot and UFOs lies in the sets of assumptions made about each phenomenon. In our book, Bigfoot, Exploring the Myth and Discovering the Truth, we do not claim we have solved the Bigfoot mystery. We only state we have evidence that strongly suggests the widespread occurrence of an officially undiscovered large, hairy primate in the southern United States. Beyond that, we point to an array of other strange phenomena associated with many Bigfoot sightings, including mystery light forms. In fact, what sets our work apart from other researchers is largely that we take into account the paranormal activity that seems to surround the creatures and the areas we have studied where they are sighted. Most other researchers are reluctant to do this. If the most we can say about the Bigfoot phenomenon without risking making invalid assumptions is that there is evidence it is an undiscovered primate, our research indicates likewise that the most we personally can say about UFOs might be that they are an unknown aerial luminous phenomenon, quite literally unknown flying objects, which usually involve balls of light of various shapes, sizes, and descriptions. This being the case, we maintain there is a definite connection between Bigfoot and UFOs, especially if we allow for their respective mysterious origins and nature. This general observation was independently made as early as 30 years ago by such writers-researchers as John Keel and Dr. Michael Persinger. Keel, who is well known for having written the Mothman Prophecies and for popularizing the term Men in Black, or MIB, described what he called window areas, where he consistently observed a range of unusual phenomena that occur in specific locations in a particular sequence. These include star-like light seen in the sky moving at speeds and angles impossible for conventional aircraft, full moon-sized fireballs streaking low across the horizon, smaller lights seen near ground level, followed by the appearance of the classic saucer-shaped spacecraft. At some point in this bizarre phantasmagoria, within the same areas, large mystery primates would also show up, what Keel called big hairy monsters, or BHM, sometimes followed by the MIB. Keel clearly thought all these phenomena were stages, transmogrifications. He called them in the manifestation of a single energy source, the origin of which is unknown. The only things witnesses saw that were real were the light forms. The BHM, spacecraft and their occupants, and MIB were hallucinations, thus their apparent non-matter reality, caused either by reactions within the perceiver's minds or actually projected on the observers by an intelligent, perhaps malevolent, outside force directing the energy.
Of course, Bigfoot smell as well. Do they smell like sulfur? Because we were talking about sulfur before.
There has been certain smells associated with them.
I think people said it smells like rotten corpse or smell, which is kind of yucky. Not BO, like really something that's decaying. So yeah, it's possible because people said they're smelling sulfur around UFO sightings. So yeah, or being abducted, right? But again, they weren't Bigfoot that were doing the examination. It was some robots and all that sort of business before, and in the earlier cases that we read out. But there were some descriptions of dogman type Bigfoots in some of those cases that we skimmed through to start with. Yeah, I don't know. I know some people reckon they're linked to Skinwalkers where they can transform. But you know, when they go on these Bigfoot shows, they don't look up into the canopies. You think if it's not going to be running along the ground, it would shoot up a tree and jump from tree to tree, or simply blend in. I don't know if you ever seen the thermal cameras when they do the forests. It's all like the same colour.
Sure.
Heat signature. It's all very hot, and you're very lucky to see anything in the foliage of the canopy of the trees at all.
And of course, how many of these guys can afford top-end equipment?
Well, the Finding Bigfoot guys I'm referring to. But yeah, you'd probably want a drone. You want drones that can last at least 30 minutes in the air with a thermal camera looking down, I suppose. Cuvid doesn't believe in Bigfoot's UFO connection. He's saying on the side there.
Yeah.
But yeah. But if they're just some type of another alien beast, like a Chewbacca, flying a craft that crashed and got stuck
this
here.
This is the danger. You see, we all have these preconceived ideas of what a UFO should look like, or an alien spaceship should look like, sound like. And and we all had these preconceived ideas of what an alien occupant should look like, sound like, behave like. And then when we get different versions of events, we think, hold on, that one can't be right because the other guy said it looked like that. Now everyone's gone down the road of an alien should look like big wraparound eyes, big head, skinny body, about 5 foot, or maybe 4 foot, 5 foot tall, kind of thing. All's cool, so it fits in. Well, no, it doesn't. You look at the witness testimony over how long now? 75 years.
Yeah, there's been a few cases where
on millennia, if you like, and you still find that it's diversionary, isn't it?
And also, there's been a few cases where people have witnesses of Bigfoot walking towards the UFO and entering it, and then it flying off. And then also you got ones of UFOs dropping them off, and they're walking. But yeah, so scenarios is that they might have been here thousands of years, that the UFO had a problem and crashed into a planet after picking up signals from Earth, maybe, I don't know. But you know, you often hear about stories about humans used to have high advanced technology at one stage and got wiped out by something. And so the leftover human race sort of evolved again. And maybe that could explain some things. But where's all the bodies gone if that's the case? Also,
if you look at the word diversionary, I mean, it's a kind of an illusion. You know, it's to put you off what's really happening. And I'm sure that I think that's what is happening at times, you know. Yeah, but I think you hit it on a little bit earlier. That
yeah, but what if a UFO crash? You're going to see
that maybe fools us, that gets us into that kind of thinking, and maybe deliberately confusing us so we don't get a real hold of what's going on.
But if you crashed, right, you'd send a signal out to come and rescue us. And if they're like light years away, it might take them like a few hundred years to get here. So you know
I think they're already here. I think they're under the oceans. I think they've got a base here.
What, Bigfoot? We're looking in the wrong. Bigfoot under the sea. Well, it's possible. I wouldn't rule it out.
Yeah. Okay.
We're looking at
that. That's cool. I mean, it's laughable. Yeah, for sure. But I mean, now what I'm saying is, I mean, aliens, alien spacecraft, as we put it, saucer-shaped ones especially, have been seen coming in and out of the sea over long, long periods of time now. I mean, you only have to go back as far as Christopher Columbus in 1492. He started that expedition, didn't he? And that log, that captain's log, or not the captain's log, but the log of the whole trip, was full of UFO sightings, and they actually seen things going out of the sea and back into the sea in 1492. Yeah, so, you know, and of course they seen it as an omen. They didn't see it as UFOs.
No, they see it as religious.
No one. Yeah, well, they seen it as they were going to find land. It was a good omen.
Like mermaids and mermen and all that sort of business, and of course angels and demons. But yeah, considering like probably 99% of the ocean's unexplored, it makes sense that there could be aliens that always been here, like another. You know, humans may have developed onto land, and there may have been some sort of creature that formed into a two-legged, swimming, water-breathing humanoid that lives under the sea all this time, developing their technology right underneath our noses, right? So, again, we got this combination of is it our own planet species, another link, which are developing under the sea, under our noses, so it's possible, or are they from another planet, or are they hiding under the sea from another planet? It seems like a logical place to be setting up a base where we can't get to yet.
Well, I mean, how much of our oceans have we explored? We
That's
know
what I mean.
more about space than we do,
Yeah.
than we do under oceans. We're
At the very
finding
depths, yeah.
stuff down there all the time. Extreme files, I think they're called.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy stuff.
I think once they get the technology better, and
anything that can travel through space could surely hide down there. Should be no objects for them at all.
Yeah. Yeah, it's possible.
It's more than possible. It's logical.
Yep. Inner aliens. But yeah, better read out some more of this, I guess. What have we got on the chat side going on? Bigfoot, mermaids. He doesn't think there's a UFO connection there, but I don't think you can discount it from the various accounts.
No, not offhand, no.
Dr. Persinger of Laurentian University, who is well known for his God helmet experiments that produce dreamlike sensations in laboratory test subjects, which they experience as religious revelations, leaned toward considering the sources and BHN to be purely hallucinatory. He called them transient phenomena and took them to be the brain's reactions to the same kinds of geomagnetic energy that occur naturally in some places, where the phenomena tend to cluster cyclically over long periods of time. Significantly, he observed that these cluster areas, where unusual lights and hairy monsters are reported, frequently center around some 30-odd specific locations in North America where the ghost light phenomenon is known to have recurred periodically for indeterminately long periods of time. He deduced that the energy source for these lights is likely the base phenomenon in paranormal cluster areas to which witnesses of UFOs and hairy monsters are responding. A full discussion of this odd, basketball-sized light form is included in Rob's first book, In the Big Thicket, On the Trail of the Wild Man. To a large extent, Rob intended that book to be a confirmation of much of Keel's and Persinger's observations. The Big Thicket in southeast Texas has a long history of the full range of window or cluster area phenomena Persinger and Keel delineated. In the Texas case, the epicenter for these weird events seems to be the Bragg Road ghost light that has been observed there for at least 100 years now. It is seen to this day with regularity on a largely uninhabited 8-mile stretch of narrow straight dirt road that runs from near Saratoga to what was once the site of the railroad town of Bragg.
So I found out someone's map here. Someone's actually been doing some research, which is kind of handy. All them Bigfoot and UFO sightings. So the UFOs are in red. Bigfoot are the green. I'm not sure what these other ones are. What's that look like? The icon gets smaller instead of bigger. So he hasn't got actually one on the side here. Green, Bigfoot. Alright, it's got more here. So let's see what that gives. Quite a lot of Bigfoot sightings, and he's put them on the map. That's a real good research there. Low flying UFO, Christmas UFO. But is it per date? Because he hasn't put the dates after. New Zealand, we ain't got no Bigfoots in New Zealand. Triangle UFO. See, he lacks things. So what's this one? Thunderbird. So the Thunderbird is the blue ones, whatever that is. I thought that was a myth, the Thunderbird.
Oh.
But you can see here, it does centralise around on the coast, more on the east coast than it does the west coast here. So what else we got? I don't know if I can post that link to that, because that's actually quite a good one for people to have a look at. I don't know if these can be clickable or not. So who's whose is it? I don't know. Is it some MUFON investigator here? Share, it says here. I don't know. Can we post it? Looks like it went. There you go. And what was the other ones I found here? Silent Mission. The Pennsylvania UFO Bigfoot case. Never heard of that. Is it a book? Emerson. And what's it saying about? What's it saying about the description?
Only 4 ratings, so that could have been his buddies.
Yeah. Where's
Yeah.
the description for it though? This item is vegetable. What's this one? Yeah, excellent. Yeah, I never touched these ones. Yeah, Paul bought the book because he gave him money to give a good review. I got this book after reading the book. Situation led to the UFO siege. Okay. 5 stars, full of short description accounts. Great documentation of southwestern PA UFO Bigfoot. All caps. It's got 33 reviews here though, and it's got quite a few. But what was the description? Alright, we've got some 1 stars, 2 stars here. They're the ones I always look at first. Reads like a 1970s book. Is that bad? I don't know.
Could be worse.
And what's the next one? 3 stars. It's okay. Silent Invasion. This was pretty good read. I read it. I only gave it 3 stars for a good reading. Finding all the missing 411 books. We've been on that person before. I just could not enjoy it as much as the books by Pallades. But it had plenty of very strange stories. Well, maybe because this guy's one's probably factual and Pallades' one's a wee bit sensationalized.
I'll be honest now, Paul. I don't know if you listen to Spaced Out Radio.
I do sometimes, but as you know, we are really busy trying to keep up with most things.
Yeah, absolutely. But I feel that listening to that kind of stuff is keeping up. It's part of the game. But if you've ever listened, who used to go on, he had a heart attack. Unfortunately,
Who?
I think it was last year. Not the main guy. No, but Butch Wiklowski. He's a Canadian guy, and he done a lot of Bigfoot research and cryptid research and UFO research as well. And he's a very interesting man to listen to. And he believes there could be some connection.
Yeah.
And until I listened to him, to be honest, I thought the whole Bigfoot thing was absolute BS.
I thought you were talking about Dave Scott had a heart attack for a minute.
No. That's Dave, yeah. No, I'm talking about Butch Witkowski. I'm not massacring his name here.
Let's come up with the email thing.
Butch Witkowski. Yeah, that sounds good enough to me.
Indian, I suppose. Thunderbird.
No, it's kind of Polish sounding name, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm talking about Thunderbirds. Trying to look it up. There we go. Indians.
Oh, stop Thunderbirds, for God's sakes, Paul. It's a UFO channel.
That on that map he had listed with the Bigfoot though. Legendary creature, certain North American indigenous peoples history. Why can't they say Indians anymore? Is that a banned word now? Is considered a supernatural being of power.
No, that's North American indigenous peoples, Paul, not Indians.
American indigenous. There you go.
Indigenous.
Got some pictures of them there. They look like Indians.
Good God.
You telling me that's not Indians?
No, they're just indigenous people of their country, central, people of North Central, and you just moved the damn thing.
Well, I had it up there for a couple of minutes. You must be way behind. But anyway, what's this one here?
Just dark-skinned people.
I think it just means Native Americans, I would have thought. But anyway.
Oh well, what started as a UFO show has ended in the Thunderbirds and the origins of the Thunderbirds.
We're not talking about Thunderbirds Go. That's bloody Q-Rid on the side there.
I think he's got it out right.
It's the end of the night. We're wrapping up now. But yeah, there's a lot of reading here. I'll read that out while I look around. You panic too much, Rob.
With the exception of an actual landed saucer-shaped craft, Rob has personally experienced the entire panoply of strange lights Keel observed. When he was in high school working as a night watchman at the local country club golf course, he was amazed to see star-like objects tracing right angles and diagonals, and likewise making triangles and squares in the sky over the surrounding deep woods at speeds no human craft could possibly duplicate. Only a few months later, driving toward Beaumont one night on a movie outing, Rob, his date, and another couple all saw a large, orange fireball they at first mistook for the moon. It was headed southwest and hung low, barely above the treetops, until it slowly descended beyond the horizon. Again, after only a few more months, Rob and 3 of his buddies were driving north from Sour Lake toward Counts Lake one night, when one of the guys asked to make an emergency pit stop. They all piled out of the car, and Rob immediately noticed something unusual high up in the sky. A continuous stream of light was passing between what appeared to be 2 stars. One of them was slightly larger than the other, probably due to its being closer to the observers. The larger star would pulse, increasing in size a bit, and then light would stream from it to the other star in a straight line, for a period of about a minute or so. The boys watched this process repeat 4 or 5 times, wondering in disbelief what could produce such an amazing effect. Just when they began to think it might be some kind of experimental aircraft, the stars streaked off in opposite directions at seemingly impossible speed and quickly disappeared, leaving the boys with little doubt that what they had witnessed was not of human origin. What originally intrigued Rob about Tom's research was Tom's observation of mystery life forms in the same areas of his Bigfoot sightings in North Carolina. Because Tom's investigations centered on a specific location no more than a few miles from where the Brown Mountain ghost lights occur, Rob suspected the same range of paranormal phenomena Keel and Persinger recorded in their window and cluster areas would also occur in that region of the Smoky Mountains, just as they do in the Big Thicket. Tom describes the behavior of the Bigfoot he has encountered as being very much like that of a monkey on steroids. The creatures create an ungodly ruckus, making loud sounds by howling, banging on trees, and mimicking equally loud sounds they apparently have memorized, such as that of a bulldozer Tom had working on his property a few years before. As strange as these phenomena are, even more so are the mysterious lights he sees in the forests on his land and the occasional classic spacecraft-type UFOs he sees hovering over the mountain peaks near his home. Although he suspects there is a connection with the creatures, Tom acknowledges there is no easy answer to what that might be. And the high strangeness does not stop there. Tom has witnessed even more bizarre things, which would fit in well with Keel's energy transmogrifications theory. He had a group of self-proclaimed Bigfoot experts from California visit his place. They all witnessed an owl fly into their camp, and it mock-attacked everyone who brought guns, threatening them with close swoops over their heads with its talons threateningly exposed. Then it turned into a ball of light and flew out of the area. That night, the Bigfoot threw trees and rocks in the woods, and the next day the experts went home scared. To top off Tom's own experience of what could have been the full range of window area phenomena, it is very likely that he was paid a visit by a MIB or the equivalent. He was approached by a man who identified himself as an intelligence officer from the U.S. Air Force, who somewhat mysteriously knew where Tom worked at the time. The man volunteered information that at least some of the Bigfoot are used by a superior alien race as slaves for the purpose of mining the earth for bismuth, a radioactive chemical element that, through decay, becomes uranium-235, and is supposedly used by the aliens as a fuel source. Tom was also unexpectedly contacted by a different man who claimed to have been an MP on an Air Force base, who said the Bigfoot were frequently seen observing U.S. missile silo installations all over the country. As outlandish as these claims seem, They are consistent with Keel's observations of the MIB that they frequently convey what turns out to be nonsense or deliberate misinformation, and also identify themselves as officers of the Air Force or other U.S. military or government agencies, even though their identities are not confirmed. Tom added that, despite these sightings and the fact he has also seen several other unidentified objects which he says have scared the wits out of him, he does not recall being abducted or probed. He does admit, however, that at the start of his Bigfoot work he had several vivid dreams concerning alien-type beings taking genetic material from his body. Whether they were real or imagined he couldn't say, but they were creepy to say the least, and on one occasion the dream included beings showing him on a star map the part of the universe they were from. As to how much of this is connected to Bigfoot and UFOs, Tom admits he is at a loss.
Oh, well, Jesus Christ.
There's a lot there. Bigfoot's observing nuclear things. So, again, that's the UFO nuclear connection there too, isn't it? Because UFOs have been related to them. Makes sense that they may be leaving people behind to study.
None of the military personnel have ever mentioned the bloody Bigfoot, have they? Come on, let's face it.
Would they?
I'm not really sure much to this connection at all, but you have to look into it.
I was just seeing if there was anything that popped up there, but nothing really did.
And Zach, after asking me to do this, and hasn't even really turned up today. He may be listening, I don't know. I may listen later.
See, I see
sure.
Nick Redfern has mentioned Redfern.
Oh, yeah, well, he talks about all kinds of monsters. I don't particularly appreciate his work. I'll be quite honest with you, Paul. I think he's just hardcore conspiracy theorist, and all this stuff now is based on...
well, he's got 40 plus books.
On this Kremlin UFO stuff,
Yeah, he's got 40 plus books, so... yeah, I don't know if he lives off the books alone or not, but that's a lot of books to write. Yeah. One every year of his life, or two every year of his life.
Yeah, I mean, you compare that to someone like Robert Hastings. It took 30 odd years to knock out one book. Yeah, absolutely full, documented evidence.
How many pages was that?
Compared to 600, close to 700 pages, Paul.
So it's equivalent to probably equivalent to 2 or 3 books, paperbacks, I guess.
Yeah, all for the sake of 20 quid. And I'll tell you another thing as well. After I'd bought the book off him, he'd had my money. The guy continued to get in touch with me, give me little updates that weren't in his book, and little interviews with witnesses. I wish I kept them now. I'm not sure if I was allowed to share them or not at the time, but I watched them, and the guy had no reason to keep up with me. He had no reason at all.
So you purchased from his website, so that's why he had your email address, is it?
Because he didn't have them on Amazon, and unfortunately the book, the postage cost as much as the book.
Right.
But he was only charging like I think at the time it was $25, which would be like 20 UK pounds.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it was like about $16, $18 charge on the book,
Right. And what was his background and qualifications again?
That man.
Sorry. What was his qualifications and background again?
I don't think he had much in the way of science or anything else. I think his father was a military person, if I remember correctly, and but he certainly attracted people in, and he gave them confidential kind of basis, like their name wouldn't be passed on, but most of them, like Robert Salas and there was the other guy, wasn't there? The big Sur incident. They were all happy to talk on record and give their names. There were some names he wouldn't pass along.
Right. Oh, well,
He's done a revised edition of the book, I know that.
Well, read out the rest of this Bigfoot then, shall we? And get close to wrapping up. Because I've got to go to bed soon.
Nick Fern is a full-time author and journalist specializing in a wide range of unsolved mysteries, including Bigfoot, UFO sightings, government conspiracies, and alien abductions. His many published books include 3 Men Seeking Monsters, Strange Secrets, and Cosmic Crashes. Rob met and quickly became friends with him shortly after Nick moved to Texas from his native England in 2001. Rob introduced Nick to the Bragg Road Ghost Light and Big Thicket Wildman mysteries, which were similar to phenomena Nick had already investigated in remote places around the world. In his writings, Nick had also made the case for the association of wild man or Bigfoot-type creatures with unusual magnetic conditions and mystery luminosities or light forms. In 2008, Nick published There's Something in the Woods, in which he wrote of what he called one of the strangest cases he had recently investigated concerning the alleged recovery in February 1964 of a crashed UFO in the Big Thicket of Texas. That the Big Thicket was also said to be the domain of Bigfoot, mysterious black cats, and ghostly lights that zip around the lanes of the woods in the dead of night, made the story, and my subsequent investigation, even weirder, Fern wrote. The following is a summary of his account of the incident. Nick's source was Will, who lived in Orange, Texas. Will had been a young soldier back in 1964 and at the time was stationed at Fort Polk, Louisiana, which is about 180 miles east of Houston. One night in February of 1964, Will and a number of colleagues were ordered to immediately deploy in the back of a military truck to the Big Thicket, which was about a 2-hour drive away. They were met by what looked like classic CIA operatives and 2 high-ranking military officers and were told to patrol the area and remain alert in the event anyone not cleared should stumble upon the military operation. Shortly afterwards, a team of 4 all dressed in some kind of hazmat protection suits headed into the woods, looking for something. They came back in less than 2 hours, carrying between them a box-like, sealed metal container that measured about 5 feet on a side. It was loaded on another truck that was manned with additional personnel who were from Fort Hood, Texas. Will and his team were strictly ordered not to speak of the event to anyone and was sent back to Fort Polk. According to a friend of Will's at Fort Polk, who had served with him on a reconnaissance mission in Vietnam in 1963, the team from Fort Hood had responded to a report from a military pilot in the area who had seen a small bright light descend slowly into the woods the previous evening at around 11:15 p.m. His friend got the details from his brother-in-law, who was based at Fort Hood. The object was a circular, white-colored object that was basketball-sized and looked solid, but had a fluid outer coating that seemed to shimmer and move when touched. Will's contact further stated that the object was sent to the government's biological and chemical research installation at Fort Detrick, MD, and placed in a sealed room. 2 other similar devices had been retrieved. One in 1958 in Arizona and another in 1961 near Taos, NM. Members of the retrieval teams for these objects were overcome with nausea and dizziness, and at least 2 members died of a flesh-eating virus, similar to Ebola. This was why the Fort Hood team had been garbed in biohazard protection suits. Will was told personnel at Fort Detrick were highly fearful of unleashing a virus of unknown origins and danger, and apparently had come to the unsettling conclusion that these devices were being deliberately crash-landed by alien intelligences as part of an ongoing plot to poison the Earth with unstoppable viruses of extraterrestrial origin. Will wondered if the fact that the device was uncovered in an area where ghost lights recurred was evidence of UFO intelligences using certain areas as wormhole windows to enter our reality from another dimensional plane. When Nick visited the alleged crash site, a small clearing in the woods, with Will, he confirmed it was no more than a quarter mile or so from Bragg Road itself. The circumstances of this case are strange indeed. They include some of the markers of what Keel would consider typically misleading window area phenomena, including what on the surface looks like typical MIB activity. The details provided by Will seem genuine, however, and Rob's experiences give credibility to Will's statements. All of Rob's weird luminosity sightings previously mentioned, 2 of which were multiple witness events in the immediate area of the crash site, occurred during the same time frame of that incident in 1964. In subsequent research, and after questioning more witnesses, some of whom were personal friends of Rob, He found out there were a number of other UFO sightings within only a few miles of the alleged crash site, all occurring in or around 1964. If the crash was a case of a wormhole being open or activated at the time, it looks like there could have been quite a bit of traffic going on during that year.
Okay, so that case has
Yeah,
got everything. It sounds like a sci-fi.
I'm sorry, Paul, but like my mind kind of boggles here. You know, I'm just thinking bullshit. You know.
We got evil aliens trying to poison the earth with probes with bacteria in it, and we got
Yeah, exactly. Mate.
We got interdimensional, and we got portals where the UFOs enter. It's got everything in it. What was the other thing? Sounds like someone's telling a porkers. Is it 4 people telling Nick Red? Was it 4 military guys? I think.
But it's kind of good we got this out, because it's just how seriously you should take him and his books in future.
Is there a connection between Bigfoot? So let's just skim down a wee bit then from that story.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm sure he's trying to get his books sold as a movie rights, right? A sci-fi movie. Aliens attacking Earth with probes from another dimension.
Yeah. No, thank God this is the end of it.
Well, I think I skimmed a wee bit, but we just have to move on, I suppose.
Probably a good thing.
This suggests the window area hypothesis that energy spikes of an unknown origin cause hallucinations has a viable alternative. Did all the various UFOs and strange lights seen in the sky during that specific time period in that specific place all make use of a dimensional portal provided by a naturally occurring wormhole or space-time vortex? Is alien technology able to predict when these conditions will occur and use them to access other realities? Is the connection between Bigfoot and UFOs simply that Bigfoot knows how to access the same energetic conditions with its brain and without the use of technology? Is this why both mystery primates and spacecraft are seen in the same areas, and why both are able to suddenly vanish? In order to answer these questions, it would seem the next step would be to find the precise focal points of these energy vortices so they can be observed, but that involves a possible encounter with the great unknown. If we attempt to find the exact locations where these wormholes occur, do we risk falling into another place and time from which we might not be able to return? Who is willing to take that risk?
Sounds very sci-fi, all that. That sounds a bit like Skinwalker Ranch almost. With it, has Skinwalker Ranch had Bigfoot?
No, actually, it just sounds like Nicholas Redfern.
Yeah. Well, they got portals over Skinwalker Ranch. Apparently, they've got photographs that looks like a city inside the hole or something, skyscrapers. But yeah, kind of strange. I wonder if I can find the image of it. Skinwalker.
You know, he's wrote books on the Loch Ness Monster and stuff, like, you know, and that's probably the biggest load of. You know.
Let's see if it comes up. Skinwalker.
What the hell are you doing?
I was just trying to find that photograph of the claimed sky. The Skinwalker photograph saying it was actually the image of a skyscraper that appeared on their security camera. Have you not heard that one?
No.
It was like a black and white picture, something like that, what they got on the security camera. Through what they say looked like it was like a dimensional hole where it was looking into another world, or maybe in the future, where there might be skyscrapers built on where the Skinwalker Ranch is. So yeah, I was just trying to find that photograph again, and yeah, I don't know where it is now. It's not coming up. So what, high rise? Maybe I could try. Because I was going to say, what do you think of that one then? High rise. Here we go. Stupid fakes.
Yeah, I know.
Skinwalker. It's not popping out here. Apparently it was on a security camera like that. The Hunt for Skinwalker. Was it in the book? Is that the one that's got the skyscraper image? It's like it looks like a square block. I just think it was just
Yeah,
like
but I mean, did you see the that recent interview with Chris Marks with Edric Lukes?
yeah.
That was fairly interesting stuff. Like, my God, they put them out there, occult kind of stuff, and
Oh right, here we go.
Jesus.
Twin Towers it was. They reckon they got it on security camera at Skinwalker.
This has got to be BS, Paul.
Jeremy Corbell.
Oh, there you go. Look, what did I say?
It began with a
Jesus, man. It's so predictable.
There we go. This is meant to be the Twin Towers footage. Was that them there in the corner there? Let's see if we can save it and zoom in. Right, it's still interesting. But I just think maybe it's just a glitch. Save image. Oh, what happened there? Oh, it's coming. Can we zoom into it? Oh, stupid gift. GIF, or what do you want to call it? What's going on? Why is it on that screen? Ah, it's because it's not associated with the other viewer. That's useless.
I don't know, at least you got a time and date stamp on that.
Yeah, 2004, by the looks of it. I was just trying to see if we can save it, but yeah, it doesn't look like it's a legit image, it's not the original image, I mean. We'll have a look, see if we can zoom in. Are you eating something? You're getting hungry. Didn't you have any lunch before you started?
That way.
Didn't you have any
sandwich?
I think it was, whereabouts is it? Look, we got an update already. Probably go crazy on. Oh. So where's this Twin Towers? There?
It looks like twin telegraph poles.
Yeah, I don't know. You can see the lines on.
Well, I don't know why you're wasting your time on this. I really don't.
No. Well, some might be interested in it. Let's see, resize it. I think we got a lot of interference patterns here. It looks like it's taking a snap off the screen of some sort, isn't it? But yeah, I can't see it on there. Twin Towers? Very iffy. Maybe I have to read the article, see what other people said. Is there any sign of towers there? If it is, it's in the distance. And I think we're looking at probably pixelization. I can't see anything on this images here. Getting too tired. Curves. Hey guys, where's the Twin Towers? Good question. If it's in the image, I'm not seeing it. So what did they say on that page there? The footage is comprised of around 800 usable frames of a security camera footage shot in 2004 at Skinwalker Ranch. It appears to be late evening. Well, return to this later. So far, there has been little to no official commentary on the footage. Questions arise such as what is happening, is that really appearing, and more. I first discovered the footage in one of the trailers or documentaries and decided to figure out what that was going on. So he's talking about Corbell here, I suppose, trailer. So it must be in the movie, is it? I think it must be there for a few seconds anyway. What is provable? The footage, technical analysis. So right, so there, when I hover, that's where the towers are meant to be. I thought I saw something flash up there before. Well, how come I didn't see it when I amplified it? How do you get that to be Twin Towers? I don't know. I think anyway. I'll just post it down the side for people to have a look at if they want to carry on. Who would have thought we'd been on Skinwalker Ranch? Skinwalker Twin Towers.
Well, to be honest, from Bigfoot and UFO connection, it's not hard to get to Skinwalker Ranch from there, is it? Because
no.
You had those wolves that were bulletproof, showed no emotion or no feeling at all when they were shot at, left no trail of blood. Now we know that happened originally was it the Gormans, and then it happened again with Chris Marks on the Eric Luke show. He said he shot one very close range, 15 meters, and he was a guy who was trained in weaponry, and he said it showed no sign of concern, and it just looked at him and toddled off. No big rush. And it's a very interesting interview to listen to. You'll find it on Eric Luke's channel. And I'm happy to promote her because she has good people on all the time. But UFOs and power lines. I mean, there's a lot of stuff you can look at it. Easily found. Does seem to be a correlation, but a lot of it can be natural stuff. Twinsburg 200. No, I'm not really sure now.
Yeah, that's my question. Why record an image of a monitor rather than not just take it straight from the tape? That sounds typical of Corbell, though. Remember they were showing him pictures, and all he could show on the movie was not even a close-up of the picture he was holding up. Remember I did an analysis on it, and I reckon it was like they were saying it looked like a Millennium Falcon. So when I analysed it, it actually did look a bit like the front of a Millennium Falcon, but I reckon it was one of those drones that you can have 4 propellers in it. You can buy these Millennium Falcon drones with cameras. Because if you fly that into Skinwalker Ranch, people are going to look at it and think, oh, it's UFO, right? Rather than a regular drone. And just take some pictures, sneak back out again, and they'll just think it's just a UFO entering the property rather than someone snooping, which often people try to because they can't get access to the place. So if it was like a public thing where you could book it, go there and do your research, maybe we'll get some answers off the place to see if it's really paranormal going on there or not. But because it's all closed off to the public. But according to the next door neighbour of that Skinwalker Ranch, he said there's nothing unusual happens. He's not seen a UFO. So why are the UFOs?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, you can't go off one person, can you?
Yeah, but a neighbour that's lived there for 20 years or whatever should know whether he's had any strange experiences or UFOs. Why would his fence line be no different than the Skinwalker Ranch?
Paul, you're missing something badly. Some people are more perceptive to these things than others. Maybe this guy is just an ignorant.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah, maybe he doesn't pick up on that wavelength that other people do. And you have to look at the overall. The whole Utah base there, is noted for sightings of supernatural, UFO, all that kind of stuff. All the way through, people are witnessing things. Apparently, 1 out of 2 people are seeing stuff. Just because that guy hasn't seen anything, you're going to write the whole thing off and have this little silly laughter. You know what you did there, Paul? I'm sorry, but you did. Yeah, there was a sneer. at the end, a typical debunker's sneer.
No, it's not. He's not the only person.
So now you're trying to say.
No, he's not the only person that lives on the property. He's not the only person that would live on the property.
No, but that whole Utah Basin, that area.
But what I'm saying is, there was no skeptic side of that movie at all. So Corbell didn't actually go out to the neighbours on all the sides.
I'm not talking about Corbell's movie. I'm talking about the overall witness sightings.
Yeah.
Over that whole Utah region.
Yeah.
Something's going on. And if you're going to deny that on the basis of one witness saying he didn't see anything, that's a little bit close-minded.
No, I'm just very sceptical of the Skinwalker Ranch claims. That's all.
Well, why would the IA spend so much money?
Yeah, but they gave it away. Why would you give it away if it was like a really strange
Yeah, they gave
place?
the contract away, that's all, Paul.
No, they sold the property on, didn't they? So.
Yes. To whom? Do you know?
To the current owners that gave permission
the
to
current owners, yeah.
So it must these towers must appear
I don't think you're up to speed on this, you know.
Looks to me like the towers only appear on certain frames.
Yeah, sure. I think you're wasting your time with that.
So that's why I couldn't see it on that first one. So there's a closer up image there. So what they're trying to say there is it's some sort of ghost image of the Twin Towers. Why would the Twin Towers be shown there? Could be anything. It could be like two high-rises, maybe a portal into another parallel world that's broken through there. It could be hoaxed, of course, as well. So I don't know. So it looks like it's on a few frames there and fades away again. Anyway.
Well, the towers aren't going to look like that from anywhere near.
No, doesn't even look like two buildings of some kind that appear in there.
No, I just can't believe you're wasting time on it.
No, I thought.
To be honest,
the reason I brought it up is I thought people might be interested in having a look at that page. But anyway,
yeah, sure. But if you want an interesting page, here's one.
Well, I thought we were finished up with the Bigfoot now, anyway.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we'll finish line if you like.
I thought it was free for all.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, I don't know what people think of the Skinwalker Ranch out there. But what I'm saying is they need to open it up and let the other.
Well, listen, Paul. You know, they should open it up, yes, but there's no way that a lot goes into Bigelow. A lot goes through his doors, but nothing comes back out. What goes in there stays in there. Now, the DIA, Defense Intelligence Agency, would not have spent all that money, yeah, if nothing was going on. Now, something is going on. Now, you've got all those scientists, Eric Davis and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, they also they've been at and experienced something. Now, something's going on there. It's not all made up. For you to dismiss it just because the next door neighbour said he's seen nothing is ridiculous. Because they're actually introducing new people because they found that some new people actually spurred the events on. Yeah,
but you think you would catch something on his security cameras or something, you know?
Well, they seem to sabotage their security cameras, Paul. That's another thing you're not looking at. At least they've told us that, at least. They'd set them up. They'd set security cameras on the security cameras because the original ones had failed and had been sabotaged.
Right.
And they said that basically it was an intelligence that was at least 2 steps ahead of them.
Is that Skinwalker Ranch?
They're still trying to figure it out to this day.
Arizona? I thought it was in Utah, Skinwalker Ranch.
It is Utah.
Is that Utah? Where's it say Utah?
I'm not sure what you're on now.
Oh, it's up here. I thought it was further up here. Skinwalker Ranch. Well, that's what I typed in. It's got New Mexico. But I thought it was in Utah. There's maybe two Skinwalker
and you've got
Ranch.
you've got the 37 Pavlo as well, haven't you? Which we'll address that in another life.
What's that one there? Skinwalker Ranch, Apache Country. Skinwalker Ranch. All over the place here. Where's that one go to? Further up the line. That's not even in Utah, is it? Alright, here. Should be one up top here, I thought. Oh, I typed in Skinwalker Ranch and it gave me rubbish. You'd think it'd be on the map, Skinwalker Ranch.
Utah.
I know, but it's giving me a load of other ones here. Is that the one there? Adam Dante.
You put in UT, yeah, put in the full name.
No, that's the one. I think, maybe. There we go, that's a better location. So it's straight across. But I did that episode on Denver airports and airports down here, and the Skinwalker Ranch. Oh, well, maybe it's up here. Connection. So have a look at that one. Some interesting stuff I found out there. But yeah, that's almost like a straight line from where the other sightings were. Another thing is Hella 2 is out, season 2. If you've not watched the first season, go and watch it on YouTube. Season 2's out now, but you can only get it on Amazon and something else, iTunes, is it? And I think they're going to release it sometime in December on YouTube, so you can watch it for free. So they're going to get the money from it first. But I see Shelley has hired it, and she said it's really, really good. She could relate to it from her sighting or something, but yeah, Hella 2. Since I'm talking about it, might as well give them a plug, even though they totally ignored me. Why is it not opening up on Twitter account? Hella 2. Yeah, they got a lot of trailers. What's your website name? Planet Weird, they're called on YouTube. Season 2 streaming, but we want to know when it's free on their channel. They only got streaming up here. Teasers. Streaming teaser coming in 2019. We've got it on the movie database now. A Night of Pan. Alright, so we got how many episodes here? 1, 2, 3,
Pan is
4,
like an ancient
6,
Celtic kind
7,
of thing.
8. So there's 8 episodes they've done this time. There was 6 in the first season. I'll post a link to it anyway. Anyone that wants to go and check that out. That's about the goblin creatures that were looking in someone's house, which is similar to the Hopkinsville goblins. And yeah, I think looks like they do various experiments, paranormal experiments, see if they can connect into the. Well, they go and do it inside caves, don't they, where the goblins are meant to lurk. It's a strange mystery where they got an email from someone saying, "Can you help me in Hella?" And it was all very vague, wasn't it? It was like a mysterious one. So I won't spoil it too much, but if you haven't seen it, go and watch the first 2 episodes. It should get you hooked into it. So apparently they had lots of offers from Hollywood and stuff to turn this into a TV series. They probably could have made millions from it, probably. But the guys wanted to keep it low key. I mean, like Average Joe, but a high quality Average Joe thing where it's more trustworthy, rather than being another sensational thing. Is that another earthquake? Yeah, a couple more bumps going on. Hopefully it's not that paranormal jumping entity, because I can't deal with that tonight. It's that time in the morning, though. 4,
you
5.
Don't like skeptics, Paul.
Yeah, they're coming to get me, you reckon? But yeah, we should start wrapping up now. We had 4 watching the last 2 hours of it anyway. It gets more interesting as the night goes on. And Robert gets more annoyed with me because I change into different subjects. But anyway, I think we covered most of what you wanted.
Some of it was good, especially chasing that guy down from ParaBunk. That was interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll just run up the credits and let it process, I suppose, before Google bans us for using up too much of their bandwidth. So yeah, thanks for everybody for joining us. Please like and share and comment on the YouTube video. I think we got some comments coming in, but I don't know if it's on this video. I'll check after I finish. Here we go.
Cheers, guys.
From New Zealand and UK.
And the UK.
Mr. Wells. Someone said they don't like our music. I like this music. It's got a good beat.
I think it's cool. All my mates think it's cool. So if they don't think it's cool, they can
stuff themselves.
Yeah, you got it.
It's a wee bit Pet Shop Boys, and it's got that walk along dancey beat.
And it's the underground stuff I like. It's very real.
And Sunday, I'll be doing the Dugong Alien Myth. So I'll see you then.